So, on to this week's Street Talk then. And yeah, so we were watching it in proper real time this week. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Um, it seems like the reaction online wasn't so good for this week's Coronation Street, was it?
No,
At least
a
the beginning of the
lot of
week.
people did not like the play stuff.
No.
But hey, I've enjoyed watching it day by day instead of all at once.
Yeah, I think I have as well. And I honestly, I didn't mind Monday and Wednesday's episodes. I thought tonight's was a little bit dull, but then I've seen other people saying tonight's was better. I don't know. To me, it just felt like, even though the play was a bit silly, and usually I'm one of the first people to do a ride, anything like that, I thought that I quite appreciated the joyfulness of it, whereas tonight's was just a little bit more of a misery fest all round, wasn't it? But I don't know. We'll see as we get through all the stories what our thoughts were. But yeah, I did like being able to not have to binge it, and long may that continue. We got the summer storyline first, Gemma. Oh yes, but I think we're going to get a break from her. It feels like.
Oh gosh, and she said, "Oh, I'm leaving. Don't follow me." I was like, "Is this Christmas?"
No, nobody's following you, Summer. Don't worry. Yeah, we're going to summer break. I really,
Summer break.
well, that's what we are. I had
Well, I don't believe
Summergate
it.
because it sounds like Summergate, but maybe summer break
No.
is better for the time being.
I genuinely don't. I think she'll be back sooner than you think.
I know. I think it's going to
It's a
be
fake
like
out.
it's going to be a
It's
matter
rude.
of, if we don't see her before Christmas, I'll be actually quite surprised. But we'll
She's gonna be
see.
staying on the cultists' sofa.
They did. Billy did say that they haven't heard from her, but maybe she's got herself lost because she's not that great at anything to do with real life.
How
So
rude.
we've got finding her way to someone else's house is probably a bit beyond her. Kenage à toi is going to be our second storyline, the play storyline, and then Jammer lumps a Daisy. Is
Yeah.
the best I could come up with this for this one. Daisy's got a lump in her boob.
Oh, I
and,
thought you were talking about Daniel.
he has been a bit of a lump himself, hasn't he? Yeah.
She needs a lumpectomy, and I'm not talking about cancer.
Tie the knot is our Tyrone and his wedding storyline. Oh, that took me all of 10 seconds to think of. Then we've got the Max Dreamism storyline. And then what's going on with Simon this week? Seems like he's getting a bit of a storyline. We also had this week a bit of Coronation Street in the ad breaks, didn't we? We had poor old Peggy and her sister in the Age UK advert. So if anyone, if people not from the UK who didn't see this, or people watching on the Hub or whatever, there's an advert playing at the moment, and it went out first on Monday's episode of Coronation Street, which in a way it was kind of sweet, but then it got a bit sad and miserable towards the end. It was about a woman just kind of narrating her lifelong love of Coronation Street that she always used to watch with. Was it a sister? I can't remember. It's been a few days that we've watched it now. And they have clips of these two girls switching on to the black and white episodes in the 60s, and then they're kind of growing up, and we get to see all the different intro sequences to Coronation Street, and they're watching it together. And then the last shot is the old woman watching modern day Coronation Street, looking a bit miserable.
Going, God, tell you what, now my sister's dead.
She'd
hate to see
Peggy would be
this.
turning in her grave for the way that Coronation Street is at the moment. She's saying, "Oh yeah, I have to watch it on my own now." And
It's really sad.
It was
I look
quite
to
well
the future
done.
and I wonder, what it's going to be like.
What, when I'm dead?
Well, I don't know who's going to die.
You're going, I have to do
But
a
I'm
podcast
thinking,
on our own now.
this is kind of like, I kind of think, we've heard people say the podcast helps them, we're here, we can chat.
Yeah,
Peggy
Peggy needs to listen to Conversation Street, doesn't she? With
I
Perker
know
right up.
it's not like we're volunteering down the soup kitchen or anything, but I do like to think that we fill a bit of time every now and then for people who would otherwise be listening to something like, I don't know, Duran or Britney Spears or whatever the youth like.
Yeah, I don't think Peggy's into that sort of thing. I bet
What
she'd
do
love
you
the
like
Archers,
now?
to be honest. I don't know what kids like these days, no idea. Anyway, I did think it was a quite nicely done
nice.
advert.
It's all part of ITV's ongoing, commitment to
Charitable endeavours.
mental health issues, and we're all more aware of how important that is as the years go on. So, if you know Peggy, set her up with a account and slap on Conversation Street, and you just leave her alone.
Yeah, she's
Just heartlessly
fine.
leave her in the dark with us playing. She'll be fine. She'll love it.
Might I invite you?
Is that too flippant?
No, it's fine.
You can go on to Age UK. Just want to say, if you do want to help, there are lots of different options. They give you different ideas, like, oh, do you want to do an hour a week, or a week a month, or whatever, however long you've got. They've got an idea for how you can help with people who are suffering with...
It does make me kind of wonder about, like, flashing forward, like 40, 50, 100 years or whatever, when if it was just me or just you, like, would I carry on watching Coronation Street without you? Probably. Would you carry on watching Coronation Street without me?
No.
You'd drop it like it's hot, wouldn't you? Like,
I'd
last time I'm
start
freed
a
from this
podcast
prison.
about aliens that I've always wanted to.
Right, Gemma, I would like to invite you, please, to synopsise the summer storyline.
That's rude of you.
Yeah, I've got a sore throat. It's the main
So
story.
have I. On Monday, Esther and Mike are... I wonder what their cult names are. Anyway, they're getting excited over the phone because Summer's getting her scan, and she's trying to... She knows the baby's gone, and she's trying to sort of set up the possibility that there might be bad news. So she's like, prepare yourself.
Is it a scan or is it a scam? Bit of both.
Exactly. And they're like, no, we've got a really great feeling about this. And Summer and Aaron are like, how are we going to tell them about this baby? So Summer and Aaron tell Billy that they're going to go shopping. And he's like, oh, brilliant. I want to come too. And Aaron's like, no, you can't come. And Summer's like, oh my gosh, you've dropped us in it. And then Aaron's like, because we're getting your present today.
What would you get Billy for Christmas?
Self-respect.
I'm gonna get him some hand cream, so when he's doing his hand wringing,
Oh,
he can just squirt a little bit in there.
And he'd rub it in nice and...
Yeah. He'd have the most moisturised, the smoothest hands in Weatherfield, Billy, if he had some of that.
Beard lights.
Beard lights?
You know, those little portable battery-powered fairy lights you can weave into your beard. Anyway, now they've got to buy him a present. They didn't think this through. They go around the market and Esther and Mike turn up. They're like, oh, we're going to take you to the hospital ourselves. We're so helpful.
They're just like ready to pounce at any moment this week, aren't they, Esther and Mike? As soon as Summer and Aaron are out the flat, they're there going, hello. Or later in the week, hello.
Again, I do feel sorry for Esther and Mike. They've got no idea that... This is the thing that annoys me about people and how they act about Esther and Mike. They've had no indication whatsoever that Summer and Aaron aren't also as thrilled as they are about this whole thing. They've got an unwanted baby. Esther and Mike want the baby. Yes, there's been a lot of weird glances, but Summer's just generally shady as it is. How are they supposed to work out that she's lying about the baby and not lying about all the other multitude of things that she's been fibbing about her whole life?
I mean, like when they got out the baby scanner, the portable baby scanner, home scanning listening kit last week, she kind of freaked out a bit about that. They don't seem to notice.
They don't have very good ideas of boundaries. No, I agree with that, but I just can't get mad at people about being happy about a baby. I just think it's there's a lot of weird preconceptions about parentage still hung up. I don't know. I just feel bad for them. They just want what everyone else has, and Summer's not the one that's going to give it to them. But they don't know this. Anyway, so they're like, let's take you to the hospital. Then they get there and Aaron and Summer are like, oh, you can't come in because of COVID. And they're like, oh, that's sad. Also, don't forget, I'm pretty sure... Oh, no, it's not yet, is it?
No.
So, they go in and they just sit in the waiting room. They haven't got an appointment. They just sit there. And they're like, oh, no, don't know how long to leave it before we come out and tell them that the baby's died.
Oh yeah, that was the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah,
to make out that they have the scan
and then come out
there's
and
no
say,
baby.
"Oh, bad news." So they're worried about it. Then the nurse comes over and is like, "Sorry to bother you, but you've been sitting there for ages. Do you have an appointment because you haven't checked in?" Then Mike turns up and he's like, "Hello, we're here for a prenatal appointment." The nurse gives them directions. And Mike says, Esther's had a brilliant idea. Seeing as what it's going to be my name on the birth certificate, I should go in with you for the scan instead of Aaron. And then Aaron and Summer look at each other like, oh no, didn't think of this. I also feel bad. I just want to say I also feel bad for Aaron and Summer too, because they're really young and they don't know what to do, and they're kind of being pushed along here by these two grown-ups who really are taking advantage of them.
They are. We've kind of been riffing on Summer quite heavily recently, but You do have to remember, she's just come out of school. She's been
She's
just
not-
very, very academically gifted for the whole of her life, and maybe hasn't had a whole lot of real life experience. She's just
Well,
been
if you
school,
look
school,
at-
school, and nothing else. And now she's thrown into the horrible real world of Weatherfield. It's
You know, I don't want to disparage academically gifted children, because I would have said that was definitely me when I was a kid, not having very much life experience, but being very good at school and stuff. Summer's totally primed, like many kids of her type, to totally trust and believe everything adults tell her, because everything's only ever been great news and brilliant for Summer. You know, so when two grown-ups come up to her and go, "We've got a solution to your problems," nothing's prepared her in her life to be like, "They're taking advantage of me here."
It's understandable. It still doesn't make it fun to watch. It still doesn't make me just want to go, "Oh, Summer."
Doesn't make me like any of them anymore.
No, but yeah.
It makes sense though. So
It
anyway,
does.
just in the nick of time, as they're trying to work out how to dissuade Mike from going to this scan, where the thing is, if they go in for this scan, not that they've got an appointment, so I don't know how they get in there, and there's no baby, is Mike is gonna, oh, that, you know,
what?
Well, I mean, wouldn't that just be like, oh no, there's no baby?
Well, yeah, no. The problem was they didn't have a scan book, so they can't.
No.
So they're gonna look. Can you just pretend to give me a scan here, because this crazy guy thinks that I'll get a baby in me.
I'm pretty sure sometimes you would get in. It depends on what's going on in the department.
Depends if it's a busy day in the hospital.
Depends on if the nurses are on strike. Just in the nick of time, Esther comes in. Thank God, her mum's died.
Thanks, Esther's mum.
Phew.
Dropped dead just at the right minute there.
Mike leads her out, and Summer's like, "Oh God, now we can't tell them because they're upset now.
They're
We have
upset
to
about
keep it
Esther's
lying."
mum dying, so of course we're going to have to keep up the lie a bit longer. Perfect excuse.
Oh, I'm sorry, but
Carry on this charade.
I would be like, well, here's a perfect opportunity. She can't get sadder than she is already.
It's a perfect day to bury bad news.
Yeah.
Summer, you should have used that.
I mean, Summer's trying to be nice, isn't she? But oh dear, she's just making it worse day by day. So Aaron's not happy about this, but he's got no choice. Billy's worrying. See Summer, and they're supposed to be having Korean later, which I thought was interesting.
So then they realise that they can't possibly have dinner anywhere other than Speed Dial and Bistro, so they cancel that pretty sharpish.
Well, she says she's coming down with a cold, so she can't go out for Korean food. I really want to go with them. What are they having?
Yeah, Gemma's new thing this year is Korean food.
I've become a total expert on everything Korean. I've had Korean food
It's your
in a
cuisine of
restaurant
the year.
for about 3 times, so I know everything there is to know. Maybe they can have some nice spam stew.
Maybe.
Summer and Aaron go back to the flat, and he can't believe that Summer's putting off telling the truth to Esther and Mike again. But then he realises that they've told Mike that they're going to have the scan anyway. Now they need to produce a picture to show him of this baby.
Because they're not saying the baby's dead yet.
Why don't they ask Maria? Because she's got a picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the fake one.
Flashbacks of the Maria and Eva story from 5 years ago.
So someone just finds one online, and she's like, "I'll just say it's this one." Dee Dee then starts to talk to Billy in the pub later, and he's moaning about the fact that Summer doesn't need him anymore. I don't know why she's there to talk about this, but she is.
Just integrating.
Mike comes back.
Getting a bit of Bailey's. Bailey and Billy.
Bailey's for Christmas. Everyone loves it. Mike comes round to the flat to see Summer and Aaron later, and Summer's like, "Here you go. Here's the picture." And he takes it and he looks at it. He's like, "Oh, how adorable." Then he starts to frown, and then he's like,
Hang on a minute. Just wait one
Why
picking minute.
Why isn't it printed out? Why isn't there a name? Why isn't there a date? And I was like, "Oh, they're going to send us a hard copy later." And then Mike looks at them like, "Are you lying?" And then they're like, "Ruh-roh." They admit that they're lying, and Mike's absolutely fuming. And he's like, "How long have you been lying? How long are you going to string us along? You took our money after you knew that the baby was you already lost the baby. I want it back. I'm going to report you to the police." And Aaron's like, "You're not going to report us to the police, are you? Because you can't buy babies in this country. It's illegal." And Mike says, "Well, we'll see what happens, won't we? You disgust me." And then he heads off, and Summer's blubbering and sad.
Standard.
Yeah, try as they might on Wednesday, Aaron and Summer can't. They're trying to work out how to give this money.
They're doing the sums, aren't they? They got the calculator out and the old number cruncher, and it's like, nope, 20 grand is a little bit too beyond our reach.
Yeah, they've borrowed another 10 grand, which I didn't realise that they got 2 lots of 10 grand.
Yeah, 2 lots.
But they don't have the money to pay it back, and they're trying to work out how they can get it.
Like for most people, it'll be how can I rustle up £500 or £1,000? It's like, I can't quite do it, but it almost feels like, we're nearly there at being able to do it. We just can't quite get down to the round 20.
Now it's probably just worth raising the point that in the UK, surrogacy is not illegal, but there agreements surrounding surrogacy between parents and the birthing parent and the potential parents. There's no agreement is ever enforceable, and you cannot pay somebody for a surrogacy. No. You can only supply them with reasonable expenses. So both parties here are there's no laws protecting them except for summer, because as far as the government is concerned, you're just having a baby. And whatever happens following that is down to everybody to decide. So actually Mike and Esther don't really have a leg to stand on.
No, not at all.
But Summer and Aaron, I think they're so goody and anxious about everything that they just don't get that they're not on the hook for this 20 grand. And also, I really want to make enemies out of people.
Well, Mike turned nasty, didn't he?
I liked Mike turning nasty.
I found, to be honest, this week has been the most exciting and interesting the summer story has been.
Yeah.
It still went off the board a bit on Friday, I thought, just because I didn't think Friday's episode was that smashing. But as soon as Mike was looking at this photo and going,
like,
"Are you lying to me?" I was like, "Oh, okay, this has got interesting. I'm enjoying this now."
I mean, I don't know why I'm more sympathetic towards Esther and Mike here. I'm not trying to be contrary, but if you're Mike, you're looking at this thinking...
I am Mike.
You're thinking, right, my wife's mum's just died. All she's ever wanted is a baby. I've seen her lose children, because that's what we're presuming here, that they've tried and tried. You don't know if they've ever got as far as having conceived and have a miscarriage, but you can imagine how a woman would feel constantly losing children, and then her mum's died, and then he realises that they've lied to him and took money after the baby's died. And I don't know how he managed to leave without giving him a good old slapping. Do you know what I'm saying?
He's still on the high of the mother-in-law passing away.
Oh, Michael. No, we're not winning any fans with this one, are we?
Don't matter.
We're horrible people. I don't know why you're listening to us, Peggy. What are you doing?
Anything we say that
cannot be taken in evidence
just
against
because we're
us.
sick this week.
Yeah, I've lost my filter. I really have. So they're trying to find 20 grand. I mean, wow, maybe Aaron can be a model. Maybe he can star in the remake of Twilight.
Yeah, he could go down Underworld, couldn't he? And
hilariously,
stick on some pants or something, you'd get a bit of cash for that.
Summer's idea wasn't far off that, because she went to Carla and said, "Can I have a pay rise?" And I was like, "You're not even here half the time, no."
That's so funny. She just doesn't get it.
I've worked at my company for nearly 20 years. I've never asked for a pay rise.
I thought you had.
No, I got given one.
Oh.
Right, so Paul, I only got given one ever once. That was this year. Hooray for me.
Well done.
Thanks very much. Paul walks past, and then he waves, and Summer gets an idea. So she just she's like, "Oh, I remember now. I could leech off my dad's. I've got 3 of them after all, which is 100% more than."
They're really leaning into
what percentage is it more than normal people? I never work out how percentages work.
They're making a bit of a meta thing about these 3 dads. I can't remember whether it was this week where Billy's telling somebody, "Oh yeah, she's got 3 dads." They really like the 3 dads thing, don't they?
We're like 2 weeks out of recreating the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil monkey screenshot of them all just reacting to something with slapping their face, eyes and ears, or whatever they're doing. So she convenes the gay dads and she says, "I'm going travelling. I would like you to loan me money." And they're like, "How much do you want?" And she says she wants 10 grand. Why stop there? You need 20 grand, love. What you doing? So they're like, that's a bit of a lot.
Let's put our heads together about this.
So they go to the pub. I mean, that's no way to save 10 grand, is it? Billy thinks Summer's been acting very strange. Billy move into whatever accommodation archdeacons are supposed to get. Save yourself some bloody rent money.
He can't because it's a homeless place, isn't it, or something, with a heat pump. Not living in the archdeaconry.
How's the heat pump doing?
Like, if me, you, and like our third member of our marriage, whoever that's going to be, put our heads together, I still don't think we'd be able to get together 10 grand to give to our pretend daughter.
I know.
Like, how much money is Paul going to have, for heaven's sake? He's not going to be able to contribute much to top up that 10 grand fund, is he? Even Todd.
Nobody's going to be able to give them that money. And the most they could probably do is like, oh, I'll give you £100 a week or whatever. Yeah. They're not going to be able to come up with it. I'm always really intrigued, you're right, when they have these things like, oh, we're going to have a discussion about how to come up with this money. What are you going to do? Root around to the toilet? See if it comes out?
You're going to have to pass the collection plate around 3 times this week, Billy.
Yeah, well, it's Christmas time. People are more generous.
Oh, yeah.
So, Billy's like, she's been actually really weird, don't you think, summer recently? We need to make sure that this money is actually for travelling and not just for drugs or whatever. What are the kids into these days?
What have you told you? I've got no idea.
Meta.
Roblox.
She's signing up for Meta. So they gathered again in the flat and they're like, are you in some kind of trouble? And she says, look, I've had a rubbish year. I'm struggling. I want to get away. I want to see the new worlds. I want to see new people. And Billy says, we'll see what we can do about the money. Aaron and Summer step out of the flat. And Esther and Mike are there. And Esther's like, look.
I told you, they're just ready to bounce.
I know, it's very weird that they're always just there. Do you think people in Coronation Street are like phoning Craig going, look, I know that you're not a real policeman, but this couple was very suspicious and they keep hanging around.
This is just the Christmas market. It's just got irresistible bargains there. Maybe that's why Craig was so quick to stop that van nicker in today's episode, because he was staking out the market just in case Esther and Mike turned up again.
I'm going to get one of those pretzel dogs. So,
he doesn't eat that kind of stuff anymore, Gemma.
Esther and Mike, you can fit anything in if you've got a good diet plan. Esther and Mike jump out, and Esther's like, I'm really sad about my mum. Give me a baby.
Also sad about the fact that Summer has lied.
Well, they say, look, why don't we try again, but with Mike as the donor? So this time we would actually be a proper surrogate. We'll write off all the money. You don't have to owe us anything. But just give us the baby. And Aaron's like, no, this is crazy. And someone's like, actually, how far through are we this episode? I might say yes.
I usually make at least one stupid decision every episode in Coronation
this
Street,
could be
but we haven't even reached the second break yet, so I don't know whether I want to blow my load right now.
Aaron, well, that's what Mike wants to do. Aaron's like, right, get out. And someone says, no, I think this is the good idea. They're back at the flat at this point, and Aaron's like, I can't believe this. And they're all arguing, and then Amy walks in. At this point, Mike and Esther have left them with this idea, and they tell her what's happening, and Amy says, this is really dumb. And Summer says, nothing to do with you. You can keep your mouth shut.
I love how Amy is the voice of reason in this. She's the one that's kind of been on the fringes of the stories all along, and she can just, like us, say,
I like this.
Why are you being so stupid, Summer?
I like the way that
I would want to
Amy's
say
like, you're the smart one? Look, as far as I've worked out, I'm the one still in higher education, and I'm not the one hiring my uterus out to random cultists.
They're not cultists, not officially yet.
Not officially.
Still
we really
possible.
have no idea if that's where this storyline is going, but I bloody hope it is. It's be hilarious. So somebody goes to the pub. Billy finds her there. He wants to talk. She says, no, I don't want to. He says, I know everything, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh yeah, this is a bit of a twist, wasn't it? Billy coming in,
selling your baby.
Because when he came in and said, I know everything, I was like thinking,
no, you don't.
What does he know? What does he think he knows? This is just a fake out. It's like, oh no, he really does know everything that's happened. He's been reading up on he's been catching up on Conversation Street, so he knows what's happening now.
He's like, I signed myself up to the Coronation Street press releases, and I looked ahead to what week this is, and I've looked into this, and you're selling your baby. And she's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm old enough to make my own decisions. And he says, look, I would not, you can't do this. She says, yes, I can. And then she stands up for herself, which was actually quite fun, even though she's doing it for, I don't know, I kind of support her here, actually. I'm going completely against the grain here. I think, do it.
No, it's
Why?
ridiculous. She's poor bloody Aaron. I've been feeling bad for Aaron for the past few weeks, and yet again, Summer's showing him absolutely zero consideration. He's clearly not happy with this.
No,
She
see,
supposedly
I do
loves
see what you
him,
mean. I do see
and
what you mean.
she's just agreeing to do whatever it is that Esther and Mike want, just to
Okay.
placate them.
I know, but we're coming at this from very different perspectives here because I remember a point when we were younger, and I was looking at like you could sell your eggs. Remember me?
I do remember you talking about
I
selling
can
your
sell
eggs.
my eggs, and you were like, no, you're not selling.
I
your
very
eggs.
much remember having that conversation.
You were like, no, you don't. It wasn't really a serious conversation, was it? I was just like, I said, Michael, you can get like $5,000 an egg. You were like, well, you can't.
Yeah. And it's your body, and I mean, this wasn't
fine.
so far in the past.
Nobody
we were
wants
married and everything when we were having this conversation.
Nobody wants my dusty
and
eggs.
Aaron and Summer have only just been going out, so he's not got any right over her body whatsoever. But the fact that she just completely doesn't have any consideration for what he thinks about it.
Okay, but I need to stand up for women's rights here.
Dump her ass, Aaron. Get out of there.
Men have been telling women what to do with our bodies for long enough now. It's time for her to make her own decision. The thing that's missing from this equation is, why does Summer want to do this? We don't know why Summer wants to do this. She has been absolved of her...
We do is because she wants to get more money for Eric because she's such a bloody goody two shoes.
I don't believe that. It's not compelling enough for me. I'm really intrigued at this. I really am. And there are lots of missing aspects to this that aren't being raised. Like, for example, the fact that she's not selling her eggs. She's selling her uterus, and she's selling half of her...
It's womb for rent.
She's selling one of her... And surrogacy is an incredibly complicated, controversial and evocative topic, but there are considerations that have to be discussed that nobody's bringing up to Summer.
No, because again, she has lived a very sheltered life.
Well, nobody's saying to her, Summer, it's not just a montage of you with a big tummy rubbing it and rubbing your back and going, oof, I want pickles and ice cream. That's what my generation of women were raised with. Like, oh, it's a funny montage of you being slightly fat for 9 months and eating pickles and ice cream, and then you scream in a bed for 5 minutes, and then the baby's appeared. It's a lot more to it than that.
You're a soap character, Summer. You're probably going to lose it, or maybe you'll give birth in... if you're lucky, you'll give birth in an awkward place. Quite possibly, because it's a surrogacy storyline, Mike's going to come onto you at some point.
Yeah.
And there's, at least a 75% chance that after you've had this baby, you're going to decide you want to keep it, just for the drama.
Don't forget, as a young mother... you're in a perilous situation for being killed off early.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know I keep harping on.
Go ahead with it, Summer.
I really keep harping on about the physical impact that pregnancy has on women, but I really don't think that Coronation Street's ever talked about it properly.
Not from what you tell me.
I really don't understand why there's this weird conspiracy of silence about it, but I think it's weird. Anyway, she tells Billy where to go, and I totally support her decision to decide what she wants to do with her body, but I wouldn't say that this is probably the best move.
I was glad that she stood up to Billy.
Yeah. She needs to have proper informed consent. She doesn't have that, does she?
No.
And she's being coerced, which is also incredibly wrong. So from that perspective, no. But when I just get my goat up with you saying, and Billy saying, and Aaron saying, oh, I don't really want you to do this. It's like, well, sorry, but whose cooch is going to be split open, mine or yours?
Hopefully yours.
Well, if Aaron's gets split open, then something's gone wrong. I think we're an Alien instead of Coronation Street. Right, so she gets back home and she has to go at Amy because she thinks that Amy's the one that told Billy that she was planning on going ahead with the surrogacy, but it turns out it was actually Aaron.
What?
And he says he had no choice.
Good for you, Aaron. You've actually grown a babe. You've stood up for yourself. You've told somebody.
No,
well done.
Hang on a minute. He hasn't explained what his... I understand, but Coronation Street seems to think it goes without saying, and it doesn't.
What?
Why does he not want this to happen?
I think he can see that she's young. he doesn't want her to be pregnant.
There's a sinister undertone. Look, I just want to say this because I think some people probably think the same thing as this, and I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but there's a sinister undertone here of ownership that Aaron seems to think he has over Summer's body just because they're dating. He doesn't own her body and she can decide what to do with it. He needs to articulate more clearly what the problem is. Otherwise, I'm just going to think that he thinks he doesn't want the inconvenience of his girlfriend being pregnant with not giving birth to his baby.
I think it goes without saying that when you're a young couple like that, or probably of any age, to be honest, you don't want your girlfriend to be knocked up by some other guy.
Oh, here we go. This is so...
Sorry.
It's not that, is it?
Well, that's how we see it.
But I think, honestly, this to me is just one of the quintessential human, like, conversations that is so complex, so nuanced. Every situation is going to be completely different. Every couple is going to have a different reason for what they think and why they think it. But I just think that they're not articulating their specific reasons here. Why specifically does someone want to do this? Why specifically does Aaron not want her to do it? I think you think it goes without saying, but yeah. I would like to see a bit more. I think the thing is, Coronation Street knows if Aaron really says what he's thinking, what you just said, it just sounds really obnoxious and wrong. And I don't think that you're unusual. I think that most men have the same kind of idea about that. It's not fun for anybody when a woman's pregnant in a relationship. But when the baby's born and you can't, you know, all the trouble that you've gone to, and then the baby isn't, you don't even get to keep the baby.
I mean, he could also be worrying that she would decide she wants to keep the baby.
He does actually say at one point.
Does he? I can't remember.
Hang on, no, he says that he's worried about her diabetes, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but if he thinks that if she decides she wants to keep the baby, does that mean that I need to have to raise this guy's baby? Or...
Yeah, that's a good point. Why doesn't he say this?
I don't.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I'm not saying
and
you're wrong.
I know you see what I'm saying as well.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying Summer's wrong or Aaron's wrong or whatever. I'm just saying there's a lot more to this, and there's a lot of weird stuff that I'm sure people are listening to both of us talking about this, and they think I'm balmy or they think you're balmy.
Probably.
But I don't think anyone's wrong. I just think that this is the sort of situation where it's such a morally weird grey area that you can't say that 100% that this is the right choice or this is the wrong choice. But it's very very sad for Summer and Aaron that Mike and Esther have put them in this situation where they're facing such a really weird, unusual, hard moral decision to make, and are they even 20? I don't even know.
No.
It's tragic.
Summer's only just turned 18 last summer, hasn't she?
Well, nice, healthy, good young uterus there, nice chromosomes.
I do, but I'm like wondering why do they want her baby so specifically? Is it literally just because they were looking for, you know, a miracle to happen and they were praying and then Summer came along?
So I honestly think that's it.
I don't. Or is there something more sinister about it? I'm still kind of going around this whole culty thing, which I know is not going to happen, but I can't get it out of my head. Like, is there something about the Spellman DNA that they need to get their hands on? Or are they going to sacrifice it at the altar? Or I don't know. It's just like, there are plenty of other ways that you can go about getting a baby without hounding one specific particular girl.
I know. And again, I've said this before about a million times, but it's not just about the story, but it's about who you are and where you are in your life when you consume the story. And we are both at particular points in our life. Certain things have happened and not happened. We don't have any children.
We've got a cat.
We've got a cat, which I am sorry did not birth myself. It was a surrogate. So our perspective. We adopted her when she was 3. Our perspective of foster child. Our perspective is different from somebody who is a mum, who is a biological mum. Somebody different who adopted a child. Somebody different who has had miscarriages, tried for a child, never had one. Everyone's going to have a slightly different approach to this, and I don't think anyone's right or wrong. But one thing that I want to Coronation Street, what I think Coronation Street is good at, is sort of showing perspectives different people, and let's talk about it sensibly and nicely together, and try to come to understand each other's perspective, which is why I'm kind of a bit disappointed that I'm not really getting articulated very clearly the perspectives of all the different people. It's because it's not really, it's a major storyline, but there are so many characters involved that we're only really getting broad brushstrokes of, I'm Billy, I don't want you to throw your life away. Okay, yes, it makes sense. I mean, I can fill in the blanks, but I don't really want to fill the blanks in. I want them to have a really big, meaty, sobby conversation about this. The same with Aaron and Summer. The same with Esther and Mike. Do you see what I'm saying? I feel like I'm getting a Monet where everything's just like slapped all over the place, and I'm standing. I want to see the whole thing.
Yeah, a nice proper big dialogue heavy sort of scene probably wouldn't go amiss here. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, but again, other people are going to get something different out of this.
Let's carry on.
I am really enjoying the dilemma.
Like I said,
So,
this is the best this story has been.
Aaron's like, sorry, I didn't have any choice. I had to tell Billy what you were up to because I don't want you to do it. Someone says, I'll never better trust you. He says, don't break up with me. She says, I don't know if I want to, but I don't want to spend any time with you. And she cries and he leaves. On Friday, someone's getting stressed in the cafe. It's Bernie's offering to what's...
Oh yeah, to use the divining rods on the herbal teas.
This is why I was disappointed that Bernie didn't take these children to task last week, or whenever it was, about the Ouija board, because she knows how to set one up properly, and that was not correct. So Billy and Aaron come in, she leaves, so they look for her, and they spend the whole episode looking for her.
Yeah.
Which I kind of missed. I didn't realise that I hadn't seen her since the beginning of the episode.
No, she does. She's there in the middle. He finds her for a bit and then she goes
Billy
off
and Aaron
again.
look for her. Then they go to the flat and Billy's like, we've got to stop her from doing this. I think Billy's just convinced that she doesn't realise that she's being taken advantage of. And if he genuinely thought that this is what she actually wanted, then I think he might be a bit more supportive.
I don't know.
And if I was Summer... here's a thought. Summer just turned 18, and this isn't necessarily what she thinks, but from a story perspective, you could say something like, I'm 18, I got my letter from my dad, and I've lived without him for all these years, but it made me think about my dad and how, although he's not here anymore, I'm still connected to him, my genes, and I was thinking, he died young. I don't know how long I'm going to live. I've got diabetes and I keep fainting all the time. I could die tomorrow. I'm joking, obviously, because she's so dramatic.
She is very dramatic.
She
hasn't had a good fall for a while, actually. She's due a good tumble.
What if she was thinking, I want to leave a legacy. I want my dad to live on. I want my genes to continue in this world. But I don't know if I can do it myself. I think Esther and Mike are brilliant, and maybe I do want a kid, but I don't want to raise it myself.
She doesn't know what.
No, I know. Doing. Maybe that's just me talking.
No, you're right.
I'd love somebody else to have
She's just got an awful lot of
me.
drama going around her. She doesn't know what to do. She's not really thinking. She's just reacting to things and trying to do the best for everybody.
But nobody's giving her a chance, are they? Billy, Aaron, and Esther and Mike. None of them are letting her have a chance to think. Esther and Mike are going, baby, 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 baby. Aaron and Billy are going, no, 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 no. Does she even know? All she knows is, she only knows how to react to what people are saying to her. She doesn't know what she actually thinks. She hasn't been given a chance.
Yeah. I'd maybe find a scene with... I suppose we had a little bit of her and Amy, and Amy's more on the no, don't do it side, you crazy.
Well, she had a pregnancy that she didn't keep.
So maybe like her and Jacob, because he was seeming to get a bit close to her a few weeks ago, wasn't he? And kind of being a friend to her. And he's like the chillest out of everybody in this storyline. And I know he's only tangentially linked to it, but maybe he would be a good sounding board for her problems, do you think?
Not into Jacob at the moment.
You're not into I know you're not into Jacob at the moment, but I think that he might be able to offer some unbiased words of wisdom to Summer in this predicament she's got herself into. Drama.
This is fictional. We all just need to remember this is fictional. So Billy summons Esther and Mike to the flat to tell them and threaten them with the police and say, you're taking advantage of Summer, she will not be your surrogate. And they said to her, it's none of your business, actually. This is God's will. Which I thought was quite nice. Because Billy's like, damn.
No, he says, I think I know whose side God would be on this one, actually.
And God's like, I don't know, I've got a lot of begats in the Bible.
God's like, don't make me take sides here, guys. You sort it out yourself.
I love a bit of begatting. That's me. Billy strolls up to Summer at the market. There you go. And she says, he says to her, I'm going to report Mike and Esther to the police. Because, as Gemma told you in the podcast earlier, surrogacy is not an enforceable agreement. And you can't force people to have a baby for you. And you can't pay them. Because it's rude. And she says, if you go to the police, I'm never going to talk to you again. And I'm going to...
And for once on Coronation Street, it's not an empty threat.
So Paul stops Billy at the police station door and he says, don't do this. If you do this,
I kind of missed his argument, but he was like saying, don't do this. If you get them, then they're going to spread all the muck about Summer and she's going to make out that she's the villain.
I don't know. Just don't do it, really. I mean, honestly...
They've got enough problems at the moment. People are stealing knicker vans.
I don't know. There's definitely something to be said about vulnerable women being coerced into reproductive, situations that they don't fully understand. That I cannot get behind that at all. But equally, Billy can shut up. So I'm just a dilemma.
Yeah.
Night falls. Billy's looking sadly on the street. Didn't report them after all. Paul says you did the right thing. Summer's going to come around. Aaron calls Billy and Paul to the flat because they don't know where Summer is. She's left a note. She says, I'd go on and I don't want anyone to look for me. Aaron says, it's all my fault. And it's your fault too. You judged her and you didn't support her.
Yeah, we've all driven her away with our controlling maleness. Men will ruin the planet.
Why
didn't we just let women do things themselves?
Okay, right, just one thing I just want to say is that surrogacy, like I said before, is controversial. Some people consider it to be completely wrong in all situations, ever. And I understand that perspective. But certainly, lots of people can understand the selfless act of carrying a child for other people to give them the joy of having a child which is in some way or not biologically related to them, right? I know, but I just think that we're in danger of demonizing the whole idea of surrogacy when, yes, it can be very difficult and hard for the women, but it's not inherently wrong.
No, absolutely not. I've got no problem with it whatsoever. But it's just,
and I've said a lot of things. This
particular one is very, very shady.
I've said a lot of things about pregnancy and about how difficult it is, but I also know that some women love being pregnant and they have very minimal issues with the birth and the pregnancy, and they don't find that it's an incredible sacrifice. In fact, they enjoy the process and they love the fact that they're able to bring new life into the world and they know that somebody's going to look after it.
If someone was going into the world of surrogacy because of all those things, because of all those things you just said, then fine, go ahead with it. It's brilliant. But the fact is that she's been backed into a corner and she's been almost forced into this.
Ever be carrying a baby for somebody because you owe them money.
No, that's what it was. She owes them money and she also wants to help out Eric. Well, I think she'll find that if she goes through with this, then Aaron's not going to be hanging around with her anyway. So
can I also just say, I just want a tiny bit of blame here goes to Aaron.
For what?
I know, I'm sorry.
Not
this
standing
is really,
up to
really
her
bad.
sooner.
No, this is really bad to say, but his dad's abusive and he's letting his girlfriend sell their baby to, come on. Are we going to judge Summer but not Aaron? There's a lot of judgment going on here in this story for different people, not just us, judging Summer for her choices. Aaron's just standing there like, why doesn't he just say, my dad's not worth this?
Well, you know what Billy and Esther and Mike would say about that? Only God will judge us.
Only God can decide.
Well, we can.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
A little bit of perspective. I don't know.
Lots of people are being very silly in this storyline.
It is all just silliness, isn't it?
Yes.
What do you guys think? Would you just politely tell us if you disagree? It's fine to have a disagreement, but I want to know what do you think? 'Cause I don't know. I'm saying lots of different things there, and then I change my mind immediately that I say it.
I also felt a little bit sorry
opinion.
for Mike and Esther during this as well, which I didn't know whether we were supposed to. But when he kind of went nuts on Monday, which was that brilliant scene where he realises that she's been lying to him all this time, I thought, well, yeah, you tell her that she's being a cow. You thought that you were getting a baby out of her. She's been lying to you for weeks now. You've got every right to be angry at her.
A tiny bit of you would know that you're doing something wrong, but the biological urge to have a baby is just incredible. And Esther and Mike, they
I don't know whether they think they're doing anything wrong anyway, if they're doing it for for these religious beliefs.
But you can also argue that they genuinely, whether or not you think that there's a bit of them that knew this was wrong, you can still argue that somebody would genuinely think, hey, listen, you don't want to have an abortion, you've got a baby that you don't want, I want a baby, this could work out. You need money, I'll give it to you.
That is how it started a lot more innocently than it's become, hasn't it?
This is kind of the lesson,
That's
isn't
hope
it?
for you.
The lesson of the story is that it's a lot more complicated. And I don't feel qualified to talk about this at all, but we've just spent 40 minutes talking about it, so...
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen with Summer now. Now, we know at the end of the episode she hasn't made her way to Esther and Mike's, according to Billy, but it wouldn't surprise me if she does go over there. But if they do ensnare her in, then I feel sorry for her, because they're going to massively take advantage of her guilt and vulnerability, aren't they? So, for her own good, I hope that it is Billy and Aaron, or probably Paul, or somebody that's a bit more level-headed in this whole situation, that they're the ones that find her. But leave it for a little while, guys, okay?
Did you see that artificial womb that they invented, that they can grow lamb fetuses?
Oh, there we go, that's what they need.
It's like a big sack. And I don't think that you can conceive a child in this fake. It's definitely not humans. I heard
that you can conceive a child in the sack. That's where it most often happens. Sorry, carry on.
Who knows what is going on in sinister laboratories around the world? But as far as I know, it's only been done with lambs. So the lamb fetus. So it's been it's grown into something that you can pick up. I don't know. But you put it in this kind of like Ziploc bag, and you connect it to all this stuff, and it grows into
like a boil in the bag rice.
It's a boil in the bag lamb.
Boil in the bag baby.
Do you think you can put seasoning?
I know who knows what's going on in Sinister Labs.
Do you?
Rachel.
No, we can't talk about that.
Not allowed to talk about our friend Rachel that's got a top secret job. Not at all. Anyway, so that's probably the most animated we've ever talked about this particular story. So it sounds like they're doing something right.
This is probably the first time we've both had a strong opinion about what somebody should do.
Yeah.
And you're taking the man side, predictable. The thing that's kind of grating on me a little bit here is that the men are telling someone what to do with her own body. But they're a bit right.
You know it, Gemma.
It's really annoying me, because she should just be able to decide. But she's not. She's being coerced. It's reproductive coercion.
But let's put this to one side.
Oh my God.
Let's take a more light-hearted storyline for a bit. The Kenage à Trois.
This is a very honestly. I know that this is a very, very touchy subject, and a lot of people have very, very strong opinions. I just hope that if anything we said you don't agree with, please write in and tell us, and we'll read it out. But just
don't be horrible to us and give us a 1-star review for anything we just said in the past half an hour. Right, Ken, what's he been up to this week? So
I'll tell you what he's been doing, trying to conceive a baby for Esther and Mike.
Yeah, so
I think that ship sailed.
Yeah,
all the way to Hull.
All the way to Hull. So Martha tells Ken at the beginning of Monday's episode that that play script that he worked on for her, was it last week, the week before maybe? Well, already it's a hit, and a theatre in Hull has agreed to put on her show, and Ken's thrilled for her, and he's like, oh, I'd love to go and see that. And she's like, things move fast in the world of Hull Theatre. The rehearsals start tomorrow. And sadly, I'm going to miss your play. And I don't really get what happened with that because she doesn't miss the play. But anyway, maybe they said something and I didn't get it. But anyway, he says...
She rejigs it, doesn't she? Because she ends up taking a part in the play.
Yeah, she says all the actors are going to miss you, and she's like, oh, you're going to miss me the most. So this is this kind of the start. Well, it had been going on already a little bit, but she has decided that she'd quite fancy Ken coming to Hull with her, and being a little play buddy. So Wendy notices later on that Ken's looking a bit down in the dumps in the pub later, and she reckons he's just nervous about the play, but obviously he's kind of pining the loss of Martha as she goes off to swans out of his life once more. Brian comes in and says that Nigel wants to meet up, everyone together ahead of tomorrow's opening night, and he also totally drops Ken in with Wendy by saying, oh yeah, so this experimental theatre show we went to last week, you really hung around with Martha for quite a while after that, didn't you? And it turns out that Wendy was trying to phone Ken, he was ignoring her, and Ken's just like, shut up. But Brian is, I would say quite rightfully, trying to tell Ken, you can't string two birds along at once.
You can't string two birds
How
with
did
one
that
stone.
turn out with Imran? Dead. At the community centre later, where... See, this is the other thing I think that confused me about the play. Suddenly this week, other actors appeared. And as the play rehearsals were going on, I was thinking, surely there's more than 2 or 3 characters in this play. And then we never saw anyone other than the main characters in the rehearsals. I thought maybe it is just a 3-man show or something. And then today there were a load of background people, so I got no idea about it. Anyway, Brian says sorry to Ken for dropping you in it. You've clearly got the hots for Martha. And Ken's like, well, it's true, I am a bit torn between her and Wendy. Martha, she's just so exhilarating. Should I go with my head or my heart?
Or my trousers.
Oh, yeah, he goes with his trousers, doesn't he? Yeah, point whichever direction it points. So Ken finds Martha in the pub later, and she basically just says, look, come to Hull with me. I haven't got time for pussyfooting around this. I want you next to me in my new house. And she says, come with me, Ken, come with me to Hull. And it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because Hull's got a bit of a reputation in this country.
Is it?
Well,
I just thought it was funny because it sounds like hell.
No, I think that Hull's
Hull?
supposed to be a bit of a boring town, and apologies to anyone from Hull. One of my
like
colleagues
Swindon?
at work is from Hull, and last week we were at that Paul Heaton gig, weren't we? And he is from Hull, I believe, or thereabouts. But I think it's because of there was a line in a Blackadder episode where he's talking about the great universities, and then drops Hull in there as a bit of a joke about like who else would think that. But no, I think that Hull's just supposed to be a bit of a dull place. I've never been there. It's probably lovely, but that's where that all comes from.
If you visit Hull, you can get free Christmas parking and a £5 group bus
You googling
ticket
Hull,
for
are you?
shoppers.
Oh, there you go.
And there is a to help you with the cost of living this Christmas. But also, the road is closed and the police are on scene after a serious incident in North Hull.
Well, there we go. So
And
we'll go there.
There's also a police appeal because a girl was pushed into an icy lake. So it's not
I hope
all
it wasn't
dull.
Martha Fraser.
It's not all dull round Hull.
That's the thing, isn't it? Hull rhymes with dull, and there's only so much you can do with that. So
Here's another story from the Hull Daily Mail. Hull has been branded one of Britain's rudest cities by Jack Bowman.
Rude in what sense?
Because
They're doing experimental naked theatre.
no, apparently it's the second rudest city in the country outside of Bristol, and I'm not sure if this is true.
Bristol.
Do you want to hear the top 3?
Yeah.
Bristol, Hull, and Coventry.
Coventry is the third. My hometown of Coventry. Well,
one woman told me
I'm lovely.
It depends really. If you're out shopping and you see someone you know, but they can be busy, they might not. You might not go up to them and say hi like you might have done 10 years ago.
Right, this isn't a poll.
But listen,
What?
the main picture to illustrate the story is Ronnie Pickering.
Who's he? Ronnie Pickering? His bloody house
If you don't know who we're talking about, I'm sorry, but you
is
need
he
to
from
go
Hull?
Straight, I don't know. It didn't even explain why there's a picture of
Okay.
Ronnie Pickering. Go to YouTube, write in Ronnie Pickering, and prepare to enjoy yourself, but don't do it at work.
Okay. So,
Maybe that's who Martha's going to date next.
bit of a come down from Ken Barlow, isn't it?
What do you mean? He's incredibly famous.
Martha tells, he ain't got an OBE though. Martha tells Ken that she needs an answer by the end of the day. She can't be messed around with again like last time. And she
Also-
blows him a kiss.
It's Hull. You got to book ahead.
Yeah, it's highly sought after accommodation in Hull. Brian comes and joins him and says, look, you need to be true to your heart here. Once you hitch your heart to Martha's wagon, there's no turning back.
Do you need to drink?
And Ken says, no, I'm fine, I'll be all right. Ken says, no, Wendy is the one that I want to be with. But then he later on meets up with Wendy in the pub later, and there's a good bit of musical atmosphere going on here because the jukebox is playing. It must have been love, but it's over now. That's my Glenda impression, because I think this is the first time we actually see Glenda having a bit of a sing-song
First time
in the
we've heard
pub.
Glenda sing in the show.
Very nice.
Her agents negotiated an extra fee there for that.
Yeah, and but yeah, it was a bit of a tragic, bittersweet kind of conversation. She tells him, sorry, Ken, but I don't think it's working between us, and she dumps him. After all this, she says, there's a romantic spark missing in what I'd want. Can we just be friends? And he's like, of course.
It's like bloody brilliant.
Yep. So straight round to Martha's later. Well, no, he doesn't. Sorry, he kind of swaps Wendy out for Martha in the booth pretty much, and says, anyway, me and Wendy have parted ways. So he just makes out that he's given Martha the old Wendy the old heave ho. Martha's obviously thrilled about this, and then kind of cuddles up next to him, grabbing hold of his arm and rubbing up against him like a cat. And she kind of starts talking about their guilt-free future. Hull is our oyster, she says.
I'd say it's more like a winkle.
Back at number 1, Ken fills an incredulous Brian in about what's happened. Brian has an ill feeling about this. And on the eve of the play too, and they're making a load of jokes about Macbeth and superstition, and Ken's putting a curse on the play and stuff and everything. And Ken says, don't be so stupid. Nothing is going to go wrong.
Nothing can go wrong.
So, is it too late to make a joke about Ken's winkle after what you just said?
Well,
I think
thought
the
you would
moment's
have
passed.
grasped it with 2 hands.
Were you were you setting me up for something
I was
there
trying
that I didn't
to see if you would bite, but apparently
missed it. So Wednesday is the play day. And so everybody get ready to go to the theatre, but oh no, the theatre's flooded. Why can't you do it, Coronation Street? Why can't you film in location just sometimes, please? This is Stephanie Beacham you've got on your programme. Go to a theatre. Don't make it at the bistro. It's silly. Were you as narked as I was about this?
Absolutely don't care.
When we were learning about this play storyline back in the summer, I was thinking, oh, lovely, I know, I've got a picture of them all on a stage and everything. And it's like, no, they just slung up a sheet in the back of the bistro. And it's like, oh, come on.
Right,
anyway.
shut up. Oh, God.
And it's always the same, isn't it? There's always a burst pipe. Whenever there's a venue that somebody wants to do something in that they can't film at, there's always got to be a burst pipe. There is something seriously wrong with the plumbing in Coronation Street, and now Leo can't fix it.
Dad.
So
Stop being so insensitive.
anyway, the play's been cancelled. Raging torrents 10 feet deep, and Ken's like, no, the play will still go on. Yes, we can use the bistro, he says. And so he says, oh yeah, he then puts another curse on them by telling them all good luck.
Yes.
No, break their legs. Oh yeah, what was it? He says break all your legs, and they say you almost can. So he meets up with Martha in the pub later. They're very excited about him going off with her tomorrow. But then it turns out that Angela, who's the person that's playing Mrs. Invers in the play, has actually broken her leg.
Character.
Well, no, Mrs. Invers was one of the main characters. I've lost track of who's playing who. Was Mrs. Invers the character that Wendy was going to play, and then she pulled out of it? I don't know.
I don't know.
But anyway, Martha says, fear not, I will step in. 5 hours to learn a script, no problem, I'm a right pro at this. And Ken's worried that Martha and Wendy are going to meet up and realise what's happened with her breaking up with him and everything. I hadn't twigged up to this point that Martha and Wendy had never had a scene together, had you?
No.
I think maybe part of the problem that I had with this story, as much as I did kind of enjoy the love triangle thing, is that there wasn't that tension between the two women. But anyway,
they weren't. They didn't know that each other. Yeah, they weren't like all rivals.
No. But anyway, bistro later. Preparations are in full swing. George, Eileen, and Sean turn up, followed by Wendy. And Ken's trying to show Wendy to her chair, just anything that so she doesn't meet up with Martha. But she wants to go and pop backstage to see the others. And Ken's like, no, go to the bar, get us a drink. So she's like, dutifully goes over there. But tragedy, Martha comes out. She needs to buy Mary a drink, so she goes to the bar too. So then finally, we have this great meeting between the two loves of Ken's life, Martha Fraser and Wendy Papadopoulos. And Martha realises who she is because she has to give her name at the bar because it's like Starbucks or something. And she introduces herself, and Martha does and says, look, didn't want there to be any hard feelings between us. You know, what with Ken being with me now. And Wendy's like, what, excuse me, Ken's with you? And then she fills Martha in on exactly what happened. Because Martha's like saying, oh yeah, he dumped you, didn't he? And Martha's like, nobody would dumps Wendy Papadopoulos. Thank you very much. Maybe we should have a little chat. So anyway, the play begins. And we get to see a bit of Brian on the stage, don't we?
Yep.
With his massive ears. He didn't have the ears on the poster, but he's got the ears back for the actual play.
Added extra thrill.
How did you find Brian's performance?
I thought that the script that he read and his performance was actually really, really good. And I think that Peter Gunn showed incredible skill towing the line between stupidity and actually effective.
So did I. We haven't talked about this, have we?
No, we haven't.
I thought that Peter Gunn actually did a pretty decent job because the character that he was playing was a bit of a kind of toffee-nosed toff, wasn't he? And like, did he even have some fake teeth?
Yes,
in?
he did.
He did. And he's like,
He was sort of projecting his teeth and...
Yeah.
But the script that he read, which is supposedly written by Ken, was actually quite beautiful.
Yeah. I thought it was still silly... Yes. But it wasn't so over the top silly as Brian has been in the past. I thought
it was so well pitched.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised by it actually. And this is obviously a comedy storyline, so you're not expecting full on, thespianism drama or whatever. But yeah, it was good. Audrey seems to be loving it.
The frustrating part about it was that it wouldn't have been so impactful if it hadn't been for his ridiculous over the top performances previously where you didn't think that he could pull this off. So part of it was the surprise and appreciation of his, because if he'd done this all along it wouldn't have been as affecting. But I don't know if it was worth scenes of us having to watch.
Shut up, Brian. I don't think he needed the ears. I think that they were there to make the Corrie viewers laugh.
No, but I think Peter Gunn wearing fake teeth in the ears and still doing a stupid impression of somebody with goofy teeth and still actually being able to affect you in an emotional way kind of feels like if I was doing a little, for your consideration, best performing, I'd put that in there because it takes a lot of talent. And
I just think that if I was actually in the audience of this play and there was a guy out there with stupid BFG ears, I wouldn't be able to take him seriously. I think personally for me, I was just pleased that he was able to tone it down a little bit.
Well, if you were in the show in real life, there's a lot of things that you might.
And Wednesday's episode, we need to remember, is the one that lots of people didn't really enjoy. So I think the majority didn't enjoy this, but I thought it was good. Sean's asleep during this. Then Mary and Martha come on for their scene, and Martha's got a wig on, hasn't she, over her? Has she got a blonde wig or something? I'm trying to remember.
I can't recall.
Mary, unlike Brian, is still as over the top as ever.
But I think that was what she was supposed to.
I just couldn't get behind her.
Patty Claire delivered exactly what was expected and asked of her here. She had to be over the. It's still the story. Listen.
Yeah. I just couldn't.
I'm sorry. The story requires her performance to have not been that good because it builds into what happens on Friday.
Yeah, I know.
Brian.
I know.
But I'm gonna say I don't think that the payoff here is going to be worth this silliness. And I was imagining if you were flipping through the channels, not that anybody ever does this anymore, and you were like, oh, I wonder what's going on Coronation Street, and you flick through and you got to Mary, what would you think? What would you think if, I mean, we're constantly defending Coronation Street and soaps in general from people who say that they're stupid and that there's something inherently morally bankrupt about the whole concept of even watching them in the first place. And I talk a lot about social
snobbery,
Snope snobbery, the social issues they tackle, the very real change that they affect in society, the fact they reflect what's going on in the world in a very honest and true sense, the skill of the actors and the writers and the directors and everybody, and then you get a scene with Mary shrieking like that, and it's just if somebody just showed that clip in the middle of me doing an impassioned speech about how it's akin to Charles Dickens, I wouldn't really be able to say any more,
would have
would I?
legs to stand on there. No, it's true. Anyway, a lot of the scene isn't Mary, it's Martha, isn't it? And she goes off script somewhat. And this is the revealing of Ken as being the massive player that he is. And she says, I wrote this down. I'll perform it in the style of Stephanie B. Show as best I can.
Oh, go on.
There are devils everywhere. There is one in this room. One who is spineless and who cannot tell the truth. One who wants to have all his cake and eat it, so he lies to women. He has lied all his life and carries on lying because he is weak and cares only for himself. A cheat and a philanderer. Behold, his name is Ken. Now that's for your consideration. Anyway, so she
Then she strides off.
Yeah, she strides off after having publicly dissed Ken. If I was the theatre in Hull and I found out that is Martha supposed to be performing in this play?
Well, she wrote it.
She wrote it, but she's
ruined her whole performance.
If I was going to be employing Martha Fraser to be an actress in my play in the future, and I heard that she did this in the middle of a performance, I'd be like, no, I can't trust her.
Yeah, but if you read the review of the play in the Weatherfield Recorder, I think it went down quite well.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so Ken is there, and he just looks confused, really. He and Roy and Audrey are there going, what the heck is going on? Anyway, well, Ken knows, really. I think Ken's just confused that he's not got away with it.
Yeah.
Even though it's just a repeat of what's been going on for his entire life, basically, with women. So anyway, he goes and finds her in Debbie's office to apologise, and she doesn't make it easy for him. She says, you are still the same self-centred little boy you ever were, a girl chaser, which I thought was a nice little kenning, is it, to describe him, who never grew up. She kind of makes...
What's kenning mean?
I think you have a look at it. I think it's a
kenning.
Kenning is a type of poem, and it'd be quite apt if it was a kenning for Ken. She kind of almost makes Peter Pan analogies towards him, doesn't she? Which is quite apt considering there's a Wendy involved as well. Anyway, Ken's like, look.
Say it again. What's a kenning?
A girl chaser. Is that right?
Kenning is a special type of poem that describes an object or creature without ever using its name.
Yeah, such as.
Plant grower.
Yes, I knew it.
Skin
Key
burner.
Stage 2 teacher, everybody.
Skylighter. Earth healer. What does that mean?
Girl, what? Earth healer.
Plant grower, skin burner, skylighter, earth healer.
Son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so girl chaser Ken says, look, we could work this through. No way, says Martha. But what about Hull? Forget about Hull. As far as you're concerned, you can go to hell.
I didn't like that.
You didn't like that line, did you?
No.
I kind of liked the idea behind it, but
it didn't work.
The line itself wasn't quite as good as it could have been.
I also didn't really like Martha's speech.
Didn't you?
I thought she performed it perfectly, but I didn't like the way it was written.
The script.
I thought it definitely felt like something that you could have ad-libbed, which is not really what you want, is it?
But she was ad-libbing it.
Yeah, but in the fictional world.
So Brian finds Mary later and says, well, you were terrific in this. You just... she's upset that the Gazette reviewer didn't turn up. He said, don't worry about any of that. You knocked it out of the park, girl. So she's pretty happy with this. Ken finds Wendy in the pub later and says, sorry about earlier. Can I take you to dinner to apologise? And she's like, nope, mate, sorry, it is over. In fact, I'm going to Hull with Martha. who then turns up and they swan off together to Hull, and Ken's just left looking somewhat regretful at the end of the episode. So that is the end of Martha and Wendy, and who'd have thought that they'd just be going off together.
I like that. I want them to become
Corrie's first lesbian wedding. I've seen that online.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe. Friday's episode, the play stuff is mostly over, but this is just the coda to it, I suppose. There's a funny scene at the beginning in the cafe with Peter and Adam kind of ribbing Ken about the whole everything that happened the previous night. And Ken says, well, at least I didn't marry both of them, as a bit of a sly dig to Peter and his escapades with Shelley and Lucy. And then Mary comes in. She's all dramatic. She's got her headscarf on and her celebrity glasses on, and she's just all being very over dramatic about how terrible she thinks that the play went. And she's
not wrong.
She's not. No, she's down in the dumps. The Gazette gets delivered, and it's apparently got a review in it. And Mary's like, I don't want to know. It's probably utterly scathing. But before long, temptation gets the better of her, and she reads out this review and is actually quite pleasantly surprised to find out that the reviewer thought that it was awesome. Well, she was awesome, and she's described as a touchstone performance against which all future Weatherfield players should be measured. And I was watching this tonight and thinking, are we supposed to think that? Thankfully, it gets revealed towards the end of the episode where this all came from. But I was really seriously scratching my head here and thinking, are we supposed to think that Mary did actually give a good performance, so we just should be happy with her? Little bit confusing, but it all comes out later. Basically, Brian was the one to write the review. I don't know whether they really clearly explained about how Brian was able to write a review for the Gazette.
I think it's a clear conflict of interests, that the person who reviewed the play was also in it.
Why don't all actors write their own reviews?
I know some people
just make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll tell you what, Coronation Street should do their own official podcast.
No, don't you give them any ideas. Anyway, that's basically it.
Well done.
Well done, that storyline. So we're kind of left with this going in a slightly new direction of Brian fancies Mary. What do you think of that?
It's got the potential to get completely out of hand.
It's a difficult one because
they're very suited to one another.
They're totally suited to each other, and it's like, why haven't I thought of this? I mean, these characters have been in the same circle and in the same stories for years now, haven't they? Brian's now free from Kathy, so why wouldn't they go out? Brian's older than Mary. Mary is attracted to older men, and has been attracted to older men more than once in the past, so it seems like a match made in heaven, except for viewers who find Mary and Brian a bit irritating.
It's got the potential to really, really great. Normally it doesn't work when you have two extremely comedic characters together, because somebody's got to be the straight man.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a bit of a Mavis and Derek situation, because he's not dissimilar from Derek Wilton, is he?
Well, one thing I'll say...
He's a bit of a stuffy buffoon sort of person.
Is I would have been a lot more excited about this idea before the play story. But since the play story happened, I just don't like them together because of how over the top it gets.
I think that's the risk, isn't it? If, on the other hand, they decide to show a bit of just realness to the characters, and Brian...
Both of them have had...
Yeah, they both have. I know I always seem really down on Mary, but Mary I used to really love. She has done some great serious stuff in the past.
But she's fallen into the trap that they've gone down with Kirk, where they've forgotten all of the things that make them an actual character and just turn them into a joke machine.
Mary, to me, was at her best when she was the nanny to the twins, to Artie and Asher.
She had a bit of humanity there, and she was maternal and caring and concerned and human, and now she's just silly.
Yeah. Brian, for his part, he was great when he was with Julie. When he came into the story, he was, a fairly sensible head teacher at the school where John Stape taught. And he has had some super serious scenes, like, can't forget the witness statement scene with Abby last year.
He read out
He's been brilliant.
Yeah.
was that the right word? Victim impact statement. That's what it was, wasn't it? He's been brilliant. So if they draw on that, this could be a really lovely couple. And I've seen lots of people online saying, "Oh yeah, that they'd be perfect for each other." And I think that they could be perfect together. It just depends, what tone they want to give this.
You've got to dial it down by about 50%.
It does make me wonder that part of the problem with Kathy and Brian as a relationship is they just never appeared. Like, we still haven't seen Brian's flat for donkey's years now.
Yeah.
And there months went by when Brian was not, we never heard from him. But Mary has, she's always been in the spotlight to some extent, hasn't she? Even if it's just been as a side character coming into the rows and saying something silly about what her mum's been doing. So this could be an opportunity to get more of them as well.
Things that could be quite exciting developments from this relationship include Mary getting a job at the cabin with Brian, and we actually get to see more of that, because I think those two would work really well together and be quite funny.
Yeah,
because it'd be a way to get them in as a couple without having to revolve the story around their relationship, which can be a death sentence.
And the other thing, we don't get Tracy and Mary anymore.
The other thing that would be quite funny would be if Brian met Mary's mum and we didn't see the meeting, but we got to see the build up. We got to see him getting nervous, and then we just have stories for the next X number of years of Brian and Mary.
That's a great idea.
Talking about her mum.
Yeah.
And you can go two ways with that. You can have Brian telling equally bizarre stories about how weird Mary's mum is, or you could have him sort of like being like, she's not like that at all. There could be another joke, another level of joke there. I don't know, but the idea of him meeting Mary's mum, I'm very excited about.
I'd almost like to see the meeting of them, and then and Mary's mum just finding him an utter buffoon, and like, how on earth?
No, I tell you what you'd do. You wouldn't ever cast Mary's mum, but you'd have scenes of them in Mary's mum's house and coming out of the room.
Yeah.
And him standing in the hallway, and then Mary, for example, they're having a dinner party, and Brian's standing in the hallway, and he's just there with his head in his hands. And Mary comes out, and she goes, "What are you doing? The souffles are falling." And he's like, "I can't go back in there. She's absolutely insane."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Love me, love my mother, Brian." And then she grabs him by the shoulders and pushes him through the door.
He lives in Coronation Street. I think that could be a good place to take this, because it's clearly happening, isn't it? I mean, that's going to be a 2023 romance. That's going to be an
LO Love
nomination for
Could
next
it be
year.
a best wedding?
Maybe, I don't know.
Dunno.
So anyway, the play itself, this is what we've been building up to for months. Thought it was a slight letdown. It seems like it was a one night only thing.
I think it was.
Doesn't need to carry on now that the storyline's over.
I like the idea. I think they got a bit lost. Lost in
silliness.
It was too over the top. Some people liked it. I didn't. Some bits were funny. I would have preferred it to have just relied a bit less on histrionics, basically.
The bit I always said that the best bit about the play storyline was the Ken, Martha, Wendy stuff, and not actually the play itself.
I like the way that it ended up with Ken just getting nobody and them leaving him.
We did,
power, ladies.
We did wonder whether something like that would happen, and they both end up dumping him. I did find it funny how Ken was still just lying about it to Martha and saying that he dumped Wendy. He's still got
game.
He's still got game, hasn't he? As Sally
game,
Mulvaney said the other week, he has got game. So I presume this is the last that we'll see of them, and if that's the case, final thoughts on their returns?
Nice.
I think so. I mean,
nice to see them back. Nice that Ken gets a little flutter of a romance.
I think I'm disappointed that Wendy hasn't stayed, because as much as she is, the evil Wendy Crozier, Corrie femme fatale extraordinaire, she definitely mellowed, and it felt like they were a bit of a good fit. And I was quite surprised when she came to him on the Wednesday episode, or Monday, whenever it was, and said, "I don't feel the spark," because it felt to me like there was one, Yes. I know there's no replacing Deirdre and everything, but I think a lot of people, it would have been quite nice.
I think a lot of people who didn't like Wendy just because she wasn't Deirdre probably respect her more now. She's come out and said it's not for me.
Yeah. Well, last time Wendy left, she had her tail between her legs, didn't she? Because she'd been rumbled when she tried to make out that Ken had spent the night with her to Deirdre. And here she's left with her head held up high. And to many a Coronation Street fan, that probably doesn't sit right with them, that this villain, Wendy Flaming Crozier, has had the last laugh. But as someone who didn't watch it back then, I just know her from reputation and everything. I thought, no,
well,
Ken had it coming.
If you're going to take Deirdre's side in the Ken and Wendy Deirdre saga, in a sense, Deirdre still won here because Ken's lost. That's the main thing. Ken didn't win the long game here of dating Deirdre and Wendy, then picking Deirdre and waiting for her to die, then going out with Wendy because she told him where to go.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's sort of karma, isn't it?
Yeah. I just when Wendy came back in the summer with Abby, and that side of the storyline was very quickly dropped, wasn't it? It was almost a shame that we didn't get to see a final Wendy and Abby scene, because we did get Abby back this week very briefly. Hooray! But
is she even going to be mentioned?
No.
Not in this.
Oh yeah. Later on, she will be. She was doing the Tyrone storyline, wasn't she? Yeah. So I've forgotten what I was saying. I thought that Wendy would be in it for a few weeks, and when we went to see the filming in August, I was actually very surprised to see Roberta still filming there. So she got a good 5 months on it. That's more than lots of returning characters get. Fine, she's great. Not stayed.
Good job.
And Martha herself, we were so excited to hear that Martha was coming back, weren't we? I don't think she quite lived up to expectations. It almost felt like she was in it not quite long enough, and then when she came into it for a bit, then she went away, and then she wasn't in it for a few episodes, and it felt like we didn't really quite get enough of her. And I think
the only thing I'd say is that it felt like she skated on her reputation, which meant that if you hadn't seen her original run, you would be like, I don't get the hype.
But before her return this time, she was like a real classic. Do you remember that time when Ken had Stephanie Beacham on a boat? What classic story that was. And this is like, it doesn't quite live up to it.
But because I'd seen her original run, I still found her return very engaging.
Yeah. I read somebody before Wednesday's episode saying that Martha should have done the same to Ken as he did to her when he made out that he was going to leave with her back 10 years ago, but then he'd stand on the bridge. Should she, once she found out about how he tricked her with into thinking that he dumped Wendy, should she have got ready to go off to Hull with him and then dumped him in a service station or something and given him a taste of his own medicine? It would have been, but the whole play, it makes sense, I suppose, that the reveal came in a play. As unrealistic as it might have been for a professional actress to have done that in the middle of a performance, whatever, I thought it was still quite fun to watch. So will Ken have learned a lesson from this? Probably not.
I don't think he's going to have time to
he does
enact it, even if he learns a lesson.
He doesn't even seem particularly bothered on Friday. Like, he literally lost the chance.
A joke about it.
He did. He's like, oh, what am I like? Like, he had this woman that he apparently loved, or two women that he apparently was willing to spend the rest of his life with, both callously dump him the day before. On Friday, he's just like, yeah, back to the cafe, back to normal life.
He's like, playing more
That's Ken. Yeah.
Holding out for Joanna Lumley.
Still waiting for Elaine Perkins to come back. Right, lumps of daisy, Gemma. We got the cancer storyline. Would you like to let us know what's going on with Miss Midgley?
I was starting to worry that we weren't going to get a good cancer storyline after Laura Nealon died of stomach cancer in the year. I was like, oh no, all the ones that have got cancer have died.
They're back. It's back.
On Monday, Daisy's mad, basically, because she doesn't like living with Tracy. And she's lost her magazine, which Tracy's put in the recycling, and Daniel finds it, and he has seen an article that's written by Bethany Platt. So in the pub, Ken and Daniel are looking at this article, and Ken's like, wow, she's so wonderful and inspirational. And Daniel's getting a bit annoyed because he feels insecure, because it was his dream to be a writer, not Bethany.
I saw somebody online said that they paused it and have a read of the article, and it wasn't all that, and we should have gone back and done it ourselves. But it never really kind of sat right with me when Bethany became this amazing writer out of the blue just before her exit storyline. But what are you gonna do? What can you do?
So Daisy comes home to find Daniel, and he's writing an article of his own because Bethany's inspired him, and he needs to get back into writing, and he doesn't want to tell Daisy what it's about. So Daisy gets her nose put out of joint and says, "Oh, what? Because you think I won't get it because I'm too thick."
Too highbrow.
No, it's about my personal experiences. I'll let you read it when I'm finished. And she swans off to go for a bath. Then Daniel takes his writing to the cafe, and Brian looks over his shoulder and he's like, "Oh, that paragraph there, you should write it in the present tense to make it more immediate." And I hate it.
He's a teacher.
I hate it when things like this happen on television where people have. Anyway, Daisy wanders in, finds him there, and she's annoyed because Brian read it, but she wasn't allowed, so she strops off. On Wednesday, Daniel's asleep on the sofa because he's been writing all night long and he fell asleep there, and she's trying to feed his bloody son, and she's trying to get him to wake up and he won't, and eventually she does manage to get him to wake up, and then she I don't know, I can't remember how the
we just see a little brief scene of her in the pub, and she's there by the optics, and she kind of put her hand under her armpit,
and she's like, "Oh," and you know that she's feeling it's making me paranoid just having a feel. That's all right. Hang on.
Check the other side.
That's all right. Okay.
Do you want me to check?
No. We're recording. Fizz bumbles into the factory as Gemma's standing there. This is the wrong storyline.
Oh, I always do this.
Right, so Daisy's obviously worried about this lump, so she runs into the living room. She kicks Jenny out because it's presumably her time to have her shift, and she has to go up to a mirror. I don't know why she's looking in the mirror, but she has another check, and she definitely feels a lump there. And Jenny comes in and sees her. She can tell her expression is she's worried, and she tells her, she confesses, "I've got this lump." So Jenny says, "Right, get it checked out." Daisy says, "Conveniently, I've got I'm going to have a pill check with Dr. Gaddis tomorrow."
You didn't have to come up with that excuse, Daisy. Just say what they usually do, and it's like, "Yeah, I've been able to book an appointment the next day. It's fine."
But I'll talk to her. I don't want to tell Daniel because I don't want to worry him until I know what's going on. Daniel comes into the pub later and he thinks that Daisy's jealous about Bethany, and she says, "No, I'm not. I'm actually upset because I found a lump in my breast." So that didn't last very long, did it, about not telling him? He is immediately incredibly worried and wants to know if she's okay. Does she need him to go to the doctors with her? And she says, "Look, no, I know what happened with you and Sinead. I don't want this to be difficult for you."
Yeah, and he says, no, that is fine. I'll come along.
And she says, "Right, okay, but don't tell anybody. I don't want anyone to know at the moment."
So he does.
He goes and tells Peter. Get back at number one. He's drinking away. He tells Peter about his lump. And he also accidentally refers to Daisy as Sinead. In case you're a new Coronation Street viewer, Daniel was married to Sinead, who died of cancer a few years ago. And now he's worried, of course, obviously, that
history is repeating itself.
He's panicking. He's like, "This is going to happen again and I can't save her."
Don't worry, Coronation Street never recycles storylines, Daniel.
Friday, Daisy's nervous. She's waiting for her appointment. Daniel's trying to reassure her. Then, very sweetly, Beth comes round. Daniel's there by himself at number one. She's got Christmas presents and she's brought them for Bertie, and then she pulls out this bauble and she's got it printed up with a picture of him, Daisy and Bertie.
I thought that was very nice because she's been quite hostile towards this relationship right from the start. She doesn't
want Sinead to be replaced, but now she's accepted they're a family.
Yeah, quite un-Beth-like.
And he's very overwhelmed, and I guess in his mind it's symbolic, like, here you go, here's the new replacement for Sinead, and she's exactly the same in every way, including the fact she's going to die. So Jenny's like, "Come on, Daisy, you've got to go to the medical centre. I know that Daniel's not around, but you've got to go anyway." Meanwhile...
Well, no, at this point, Daisy's supposed to be meeting up with him at the medical centre, isn't she? Because she's at the cafe at this point, and Jenny's saying, "Well, it's time to go." Daniel will be there. Go on, let's get you moving.
But no, Daniel's boozing up, drinking whiskey in the Rovers, getting completely sloshed. And Jenny comes back from getting Daisy to go into her appointment to find Daniel completely drunk. And he says, sorry I'm drunk, but my girlfriend might have cancer and I'm going to be left alone again. And Carla's there with Peter.
Yeah.
And they're both, oh my God. He swans out. Carla follows him to Victoria Street. Daisy's still waiting outside.
She loses track of him or something.
The medical centre. Leaves a message on his answer phone saying, oh, okay, I've got to go in now. I mean, she thinks it's time for her appointment. Guess what, love? You're sitting in the waiting room for at least 20 more minutes. Meanwhile, Daniel's swigging vodka on a bench in Victoria Gardens. Peter finds him. He says, listen, you need to be supportive of Daisy. I can't tell you how important it was that Carla was there for me when I was going through all my liver stuff. And also, just FYI, getting drunk doesn't really help matters. So Daniel decides to man up, very gentle, and goes into the appointment. But sadly, he's still drunk. He knocks stuff on the floor. He's being very crude.
He's finding a pen with 4 different colours.
He's
saying
amazed.
It's a big farmer.
Daisy tells... Big farmer, yeah. See, one of my friends is a pharmacist and the other one's a doctor, and they bring me stationery all the time from pharmaceutical companies. So I've got some very weird pens in my collection.
When Daisy was talking about having her appointment, it was saying, you better not be dangling Dr. Gaddis in front of us and not showing her. But fortunately, we did get a couple of Gaddis scenes today.
And I tell you, she got new hair again.
Maybe.
Because she's got one of these angled bobs like Sarah Harding used to have. No. Dawn French's was asymmetrical.
Okay.
Sarah Harding had the whole shorter at the back and longer at the front.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's what's yours today.
She must have been homaging. Which is kind of sad, really, because this is a storyline about breast cancer.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it was intentional. Just going to say that. But I do think that together this, I love the fact that her hair's always different. I just love her so much. So anyway, she's like, I'm not sure if you should be in here. Do you want to go? And Daisy's like, yeah, you should leave, Daniel. So then they talk, and Dr. Gaddis is saying to her, okay, we're going to get you a mammogram, we're going to get you some tests, the scan's going to be tomorrow. Just relax, don't Google anything, definitely don't look up what happens in this storyline. And then, I don't know why she says this. I thought this was really unprofessional, and I don't normally criticise Dr. Gaddis because she is a queen. But she says, Daniel must be worried because you remember... his wife died of cancer. And Daisy's like, yeah, I know, but he's not the one that's got it. I do.
Dr. Gaddis was there when Sinead died as well, I think. Or she had been in episodes around there. So she remembers it well.
I remember when I was in those episodes. That's what Dr. Gaddis says. I'm actually in one of the videos.
Hello.
Hello, it's me, Dr. Gaddis. If you're watching this, Bertie, your mum's dead. I didn't. It wasn't my fault. I did my best. Anyway, Daisy goes back to the pub, tells Jenny about her appointments and things, and Jenny says, stay at the Rovers with me tonight, you don't need to stay with Daniel. And Daisy says, no, listen, I need to talk to Daniel about this because I need to work out if he's going to do this. He can't do this every time something difficult happens. He has to face reality and he has to cope with bad things because there's no way life's just going to be hunky-dory because we're in a soap.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's noticed, but bad things happen to everyone all the time, and I don't think I can be with anybody who can't cope with that drama.
Daisy's like, can't I be in one of those money windfall stories instead of one of these cancer stories? Adam finds Daniel in the lounge in number 1. He's wallowing in misery. Beth comes in the door with Bertie. Adam says he's going to help Bertie get to bed, but Daniel needs to sober up. So Daniel sobers up a bit more, goes to the pub, apologises to Daisy, opens up about his feelings. He says, I don't want to put Bertie through this again. And she's like, well, then we need to split up because I don't know what's going to happen.
Daisy and Daniel on the rocks. I don't buy it. They're going to stay together. And I am not in the slightest bit concerned about the state of Daisy's health. She is not going to have cancer. Or if she does, it's going to be very easily cut out and gone. I don't think that... Obviously, it's supposed to parallel the Sinead storyline and show how Daniel's still never able to forget Sinead, nor should he. But I don't think that they're going to have cancer. Do you?
I really, really hope not. I can't deal with it.
I know you hope not, but I am like so do not believe that she is going to suffer with cancer, because it literally will be running through the entire same story again. There's not a cat and house chance that's going to happen. So usually when people
She
start to
needs
have
to
cancer
find
symptoms or
out-
whatever in Corrie, I'm like, oh no, not again. And oh no, Gemma's not going to enjoy it. But this, I'm like, it'll be fine.
She needs to find out, like, very quickly that she doesn't have cancer, and get that sorted out, which is not realistic.
What? Not.
The way the world is in the NHS and what's happening, you can't even get a letter from the hospital to tell you've got an appointment for a diagnostic test, because the Royal Mail is on strike at the moment. So
Well, it's all right because she's getting a scan on Monday and it's all going to be fine. Like, literally, I think it wouldn't surprise me if by Christmas she knows that she's in the clear, and they're having this split up now so they can have a nice Christmas reunion.
Well, I wouldn't take him back. What an absolute arsehole.
You think?
Oh, God. He made it all about himself, didn't he? He's like,
Yeah.
oh, no, not another one dying of cancer. How will I cope? What do you think about your poor girlfriend who's going through the absolute terror of being faced with her imminent demise at the age of 20, whatever?
26.
And I know that she's not... It's very scary. I'm kind of a bit annoyed at Coronation Street, but they did it for the storyline purposes, that the idea that if you feel something wrong with you, you immediately just got a death sentence, because it's hard enough when you've got medical anxiety in the first place. If you feel that something's wrong with you and then you watch something on telly and you're like, well, she's going to die, it doesn't help you cope, does it?
No, but I mean, that's what everybody's mind immediately springs to, doesn't
Yes,
it?
true.
If you feel something like that, so it's perfectly natural that Daisy would. And to be honest, Jenny was trying to reassure her and saying, "Look, it's probably going to be okay. You just need to get it checked out because she is
I'm
young,
almost
and the
certain
chances
you're right.
of her."
It's going to be okay, because even if there is a lump there, she's found it. She's going to go and get it treated.
Yeah.
The doctor's taking her seriously, which is sometimes half of the battle. And so
She's not. I mean, she's not gonna have a mastectomy, is she? Because that'd be
don't know.
really getting into character. That'd be what's it called for
What do you mean?
when an actor
Method acting.
that'd be proper method acting by Charlie Jordan there.
Michael,
So
your mum had one, but
I
she
know
had
she
a
did.
special device. for
Oh
her.
yeah, she did, didn't she? She had her
She had a chicken fillet.
prosthesis. Yes. No, I've got no worries about that whatsoever. So, which meant that because I wasn't worried it going down that route, I was able to enjoy seeing two really, really good actors, and I do really rate Rob and Charlie doing some serious scenes, because Charlotte Jordan is, as we know, fantastic at the comedy. She's brilliant behind the bar at the Rovers, and with her sly looks and her little raising of their eyebrows and everything like that. But she hasn't often had to have proper serious scenes like this. So it was utterly refreshing that they were able to give it to her, and she was able to knock it out of the park. And it makes me partly think, that's good. I hope they give her a nice, juicy, meaty storyline. Although at the back of my head, I'm thinking, is she going to be the next one? Is she going to be the next Corrie lady who they just dump misery on top of, like they did with Emma? And, they've shown that she can do the serious stuff. So now we're going to put her character through the ringer and she'll be a shadow of her former self in 2 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even realise until before I started that sentence that that's where I was going. But I really hope that they don't do that with Daisy, because they've really got something very special there. But yeah, going back to what you said about Daniel, yes, he was a massive ass for making it all about himself. But I still do have a little bit of sympathy for him after everything that he went through with Sinead. He was young. He had an incredibly traumatic childhood. His mum abandoned him. He had to raise himself. He's clearly got issues and has had issues growing up. Everything's gone wrong for him. So it's understandable, I think.
Definitely understandable.
He is
but I'm
immediately...
still going to judge him.
I'm
still going to judge him because...
catastrophizing.
Yeah, of course he is, but I'm still going to judge him because he obviously is not the right person to be going out with Daisy if she's going to not be able to rely on him to help her go through an incredibly difficult period. She doesn't need to worry about his stupid, self-indulgent boyfriend and how he's going to cope with the fact that she's got cancer when she's worried about it herself.
Well, I'm hoping that this, what we saw at the end of the episode today, is going to be a bit of a wake-up call for him. When he had the chat with Peter, didn't he?
He has to accept that bad things happen.
Yeah. And
He needs
life
to build
isn't
some
out to get him.
Resilience.
I know he's into poetry and all that, but I don't think he really believes in the cruel hand of fate.
Don't know. He's very melodramatic and not very helpful. But it's very on brand for Daniel.
Yeah. I mean, I was more down on Daniel for how insensitive he was being about the whole Bethany article, like saying, "Oh, look, it's Bethany, isn't she wonderful? Ken, look at this," and clearly that's Daisy's not going to be happy with the kind of.
I just thought he was jealous. He's just an awful person.
Oh, was he? Oh, yeah, no, he was.
This week he's just an awful person. He's jealous of his ex-girlfriend because she found her talent through the fact that she was, raped and trafficked. He's mad at his girlfriend because she's got cancer. What the hell? This guy's one of the supposed to be. No.
But I can't help really liking Daniel. I think that he's a very, very complex character. Well, and that's what I like about him, even though he's clearly got his points to work on as a human being.
You can understand somebody and why they're doing something, and it definitely makes logical sense, and you can also dislike them. That's my perspective on Daniel and Summer.
Really interesting to watch. Daniel and Daisy, fantastic stuff with them.
She should not take him back. He's really toxic.
She should.
Who knows what else is going to happen? Nobody has guaranteed good health. If you're healthy right now, good for you, but it might not last very long. You might live your whole life until you're, 95 and get run over by a bus. But very likely you're going to have problems with your health at some point, and they're going to take you completely by surprise because everybody takes it for granted. And Daniel, is he going to be there for Daisy if she gets, something else wrong with her? In 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, in 30 years' time, what's he going to be like when they're old? Is he going to be able to count her pills out for her? No. Is he going to be there for her when she needs to be in hospital for pneumonia? Is he going to be there if she takes a fall and has a broken hip? Don't think so.
Give him a chance for some give him some chance for some character growth. If he has this little stumble now, maybe if something does go wrong or get worse or whatever in the future, and he kind of steps up to the plate and is like, "No, I need to do this. Sinead's dead. I won't ever forget her, but Daisy's my priority now." That's great character growth. So maybe he needs to be a bit of an arse now so that he can have that redemption later. I think.
I'm not giving him a
That's what I say anyway.
There's a massive... I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of couples that we don't quite agree on about whether they should be together or not, Fizz and Tyrone. So there's a little bit of a holdover of the Johns.
Is this you?
Is this me?
I don't know.
Yeah, this is my turn. Yeah, there's a little bit of the holdover from the John's tape story, isn't there? Because Hope's obsessed with this Little Women guide that her dad recorded at the beginning.
Do you know
of
what would
the
be a
episode
really hilarious development from this storyline? Is if because what's Hope's educational situation at the moment? She's been kicked out. Is she back in again?
Yeah, she's. Oh,
I would love her.
I think she's in.
I would love her to get
Is she?
like a weird young writers scholarship based on her work around Little Women, due to how much she's listened to this tape about John reading telling her all about it, and she actually has no knowledge of any other story apart from Little Women. And so when she goes on this scholarship and she goes on, like, say, a summer camp or something, and then it gets revealed that she's just been parroting her. Imagine if, like, one of the people that are leading the group is like, that's a very unusual perspective on Little Women, and the only person I've ever heard come out with an argument about.
Wow, funny you should say that. Yeah, I think she's back at school. Didn't Fizz and Tyrone have that meeting with a counsellor last week, and he was the one that called them Mr. and Mrs. Stape or something?
Oh, that's true.
I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I'm
Fizz
not
and Tyrone.
Mr. Stape. He's dead. Said Tyrone.
Fizz and Tyrone just think it's very cute because they think that she is obsessed with this mixed tape from Sam, which is what she's told them it is, basically. Anyway, that's not the main thrust of the story this week. Tyrone is planning this secret wedding on Christmas Day for Fizz, and now he's
Because
enlisted.
nobody's got anything else to do on Christmas Day.
He can just have a secret one. You know, he didn't have to invite the whole street, but... You know,
well, I'm not coming. I've got stuff to do.
Tyrone's enlisted Gemma to help him put this surprise wedding day together, and he's feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the whole thing. Kevin and Abby find out about it too, so a few people know about it. And Gemma decides to take him off dress hunting. So even though Fizz got married this summer, and everybody saw the dress that she got, so maybe had quite a good idea about the sort of style that she's into, they come back with this hideous kind of princess dress sort of thing. Abby says that it looks like a Viennetta, which is an amazing comparison. And Tyrone kind of knew that it wasn't really Fizz's style, but he was obviously too cowardly to tell Gemma what he really thought. Gemma gets mad, drops it on the floor into a pool of oil.
Do you think that there is just a rack in the Coronation Street wardrobe department that they were all responsible for filling up that's just comedy wedding dresses? And whenever they go to like a charity shop or something,
Never say a horrible one.
There we go. That one's hideous. We're going to buy that one.
Definitely. So later on in the episode, Abby comes round to number 9, tells Tyrone, I've told Beth about the dress, so now she's going to see what she can do about fixing it tomorrow. And Tyrone's getting a bit nervous at this point because more and more people are finding out about this wedding that's supposed to be a big secret. But he's pleased that things are moving along nicely. And this is when we see Beth and Gemma. They get discovered by Fizz, don't they, in the factory, because Beth's working on it. Fizz walks in, sees Gemma standing there with a wedding dress. Beth's there with pins in her mouth. What's going on? And it looks like Gemma has convinced Fizz that it's her and Chesney who are getting hitched. And Fizz is like, oh, my little brother's getting married. Oh, that's so cute. And Chesney has to play along with it as well. And, excuse me. And that's kind of basically it. Fizz finds Tyrone and Beth together later, and they kind of talk wedding presents and stuff. Fizz wants to buy some stuff for Chesney, but it's kind of nothing really. Anyway, that's all that really happens there. And I'm kind of thinking from this that Chesney and Gemma are probably going to get married next year now. What do you think? Is this going to put an idea into their heads that they actually quite like it?
I think they're playing a smart game here. I think what they're doing is waiting for the quad to get old enough so that they can pay for the wedding themselves.
I don't think so.
Oh.
No. And I you reckon Chesney and Gemma getting married next year based on this? It seems like it's a perfect springboard.
They should do. Although those children are going to get to hell when they die.
Oh, they're a bunch of bastards, aren't they? Those quads, I tell you. What are your thoughts at the moment? We are now a week away from Christmas. Are they going to get married?
Yes.
Is it going to be a happy wedding?
Yes.
Are you going to be happy with it? I will be. I still reckon it's going to happen.
Dog.
But nothing much to talk about there. So let's.
Bestiality's illegal, so you shouldn't marry him.
Let's get straight on to the next storyline. Gemma, over to you. The Max Streamism storyline.
Monday, Alia's feeling guilty because she's put Speed Dial in danger by elbowing Griff in the face. And Yasmin says, no, I've never condemned you for doing what you did, but we just need to watch our backs. Griff and Spider are prowling around the market, and Alia gets into a confrontation again, and he makes a big deal about his injuries and the Muslim gangs that are terrorising the street. And Spider gets a phone call, and then Griff pushes Alia around the corner and intimidates her and says, oh, hit me again, I know you want to. And she gets really scared and upset.
I don't know why in this busy market nobody sees this going on, but never mind.
They're like, oh, it's Christmas.
He's probably just kissing her under the mistletoe.
She gets away from him. Then we get the ladies of law, Alia and Dee Dee, in the office later. And Alia's panicking about Griff. And Griff said he'd go after the business. She's worried about her gran and she needs to cut down the hours at working for Dee Dee.
I love how Dee Dee's like saying, oh, but Alia, you're brilliant at this job. We've literally never seen her do anything since getting this job with Dee Dee, have we?
The only thing we've ever seen her do that's related to legal stuff is looking at bits of paper going, I don't know how to get Stu off.
Yeah.
And then Dee Dee looked at it for half an hour and she's like, well, I've got the case here.
But yeah, apparently Alia's so good and Dee Dee can't really afford to lose her, but Alia's like, no, my priorities are with Speed Dial now because it looks like we're going to be attacked by Griff.
Obviously, I'm more cutthroat than Dee Dee, so I'd make an excellent lawyer, but if I was her, I'd cut my losses here and say, yeah, Alia, you should probably step down a little bit. You've been so much drama. You've only just got here. I've employed you for like a week. and I know too much about your personal life. I don't want to know all this stuff. I want you to get in, do your job, and bugger off.
Photocopy some sheets of paper for me, staple them together, and file them away in my cabinet.
Yeah,
That's all I
and
ask
email
of you,
people and
Alia.
tell them that I'm not going to make the meeting. Bring me a cappuccino. Max gets a new camera from Griff. He's very impressed. And Griff makes this weird reference to the fact that they're being funded by somebody, some mysterious benefactors who would prefer to remain anonymous. Because Spider's like, oh, who's this then? Who's buying all this stuff? And he's like, no, none of your business. And he asks Max to be their official social media manager. Oh, Max, you can't put that on your CV.
Yeah, is he going to get a reference from Griff?
Yeah. Spiders gets this meeting with the lanky undercover cop, who I can't see how he manages to skate under the radar because he's enormous. And he says, look, somebody's bankrolling Griff. I don't know who it is. And they're also planning something big. And he's got a kid involved. And I'm worried about the fact that he's grooming him. Can we please get some uniform to scare Max off? And the guy's like, we literally can't risk the operation. We're not going to do anything. Tough. And Spider's like, right, write it down. I said though, write it down so that when it all goes wrong, that you can nobody can blame me.
Yeah,
I really like
definitely
that.
want Toya to know.
I really like that arse covering.
Yeah.
Spider did. He's like, look, I don't really care about Max,
So
I don't want to get in trouble when this goes wrong.
This is this week's slow, large steps forward for Spider, as like he's just again spends most of the week just sitting at the table listening in. Here he is doing something, but still the storyline is moving just a little bit too slow for me, unfortunately.
I think it's fine.
I thought it was unusual. Maybe I don't know how these things work. That the boss was like, I don't care that some 16-year-old is being groomed into extremism. There's something big happening here. Just let him do it. He can take one for the team, can't he?
I said this before, though. There's a certain element of, yes, he's vulnerable, but also everybody knows what, he's 16. He's not legally culpable for lots of things, but he still knows right from wrong.
We'll just deprogram him after the end. It's fine.
Would every single vulnerable adult in his situation do the same thing? No. No. So how much are you responsible for his behaviour? I don't know. Honestly, it's a question I don't know the answer to. But if you're at the moment, what can they get Griff on? What has he done that's illegal? I don't know. Nothing particularly big that's going to get him locked away. What is he planning? Something very big that they could. He's dangerous. Everybody know. We all can agree on that, can't we? Griff is dangerous, and he's got very sinister and wrong beliefs about things. We want to get Griff off the street and stop him influencing people. If it's the choice between he influences Max today and we let him and then we get him for what he's planning, or we lock him up now, save Max, Griff gets out in a year, and then he recruits 20 Maxes.
Yeah, no, well, that makes sense.
They've got to go down the path of the maximum effect for least casualties, and unfortunately it does look a bit like the police are saying Max is just going to be a casualty along the way.
Well, I just hope that this big thing happens soon, because I think it's happening slowly. The longer they leave it, the more they build it up like something big's going to happen, something's big. If whatever it is that Griff doesn't live up to my expectations, as if I'll just be more disappointed. I've got a feeling now that they're just going to have some kind of attack on speed dial.
I don't think it's going to be that big.
And I don't think it's going to be that big. I'm starting to lose faith in this big attack.
Me too.
Being that exciting to watch.
It needs to be
Prove me wrong,
explosive.
Coronation Street.
It needs to be literally explosive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just feels like a waste of time, like you say.
There needs to be somebody in mortal peril.
Yeah.
Not like when we had the speed dial on fire last year, or was it earlier this year? I can't remember. And it was just a couple of flames in front of the camera. I want there to be proper, big, stunty, death-defying drama going on in this. Otherwise, they've built it up for too long.
Friday. Maria is taking... Abby's eating a biro. Maria's taking Councillor Len around the market, and he's like, well, you know what? You actually did a good...
She's just literally the biro that we scored the quiz from. We had it tucked in a little nook underneath the laptop. She just jumped onto my lap, grabbed the biro in her mouth, jumped onto the floor, and now she's happily chewing it away.
Yeah.
I'll rescue it. You carry on talking.
So on Friday, Maria's taking the Councillor Len around the market, and he's like, you know what? It actually worked out. Well done. You did a good job. Max go around Griff's flat, and it's decorated for Christmas, and I'm going to give a shout out here to the props department for creating an amazing wreath out of cans.
Beer wreath.
What is the? Do you know what the brand of the beer is that they drink on Corrie? Because it's obviously a made-up one, and they've had the same kind of design of cans on this beer can in Coronation Street for a long time now. But somebody on Corrie's noticed that there's like a red, white, and blue theme on the can, and they've turned that into like an evil, racist wreath design with the red, white, and blue rosettes. Very cool. So Griff gives Max a new laptop and says nothing for the best for our new social media manager, and he's also invited him on a racist camping trip. And Spider's like, I don't think that Dave's going to let Max go on a camping trip around Christmas.
It's cold.
It's too cold. So Max goes home, and Lily and Shona are in the dark watching Elf, and he feels really left out because he turns the light on when he comes in, and they're like, oh, you're disturbing us, and then they won't let him watch it, and they make fun of him and stuff and call him a Grinch and a grumpy teenager and things, and he obviously is feeling a bit more isolated.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stand behind him here and say that Elf's overrated as a Christmas film.
I really don't enjoy Elf.
It's not that funny.
Did we?
We watched it and it's not great, is it?
No, but we did watch the other Will Ferrell Christmas film last week.
Spirited.
Have we talked about that on the podcast? I can't remember when we watched it.
Well, it's got a funny song.
We must
It's like
have seen that since the last recording. Spirited on Apple TV.
It's about half an hour too long.
Really good film. Great songs in there. Anyway, that's the Max story. Not a whole lot to say. The only thing I was wondering, I saw somebody say online, like this mysterious benefactor, is it going to turn out to be a character that we already know?
No,
I don't think so. I don't know who it could be.
I know they're racists and they're evil, and I definitely don't condone this. That's just my disclaimer. But I've really been hankering after going camping. And I think I'd go just for the fun of camping under the stars.
December.
But I don't know the lyrics to any of the racist, sinister songs, so I wouldn't fit in.
Well,
but like I said, I've been watching that.
Show yourself up.
I've been watching those videos on YouTube about the camping in the snow, and you can get the little you can get your little tents, and they have a special heat-proof piece of fabric that you put a funnel through, and you can get a little wood burning stove and put it in your tiny tent, and then you can have your little camping bed and your little nice thing, and you can put your fire on all night long and watch the snow, and you can eat a nice snack or have some traditional British roast beef over the fire.
I don't fancy it, thanks.
Oh, I really want to go camping so bad.
Do you think at a racist camping trip they just get a big Ku Klux Klan cloak and that's the tent?
You got to be careful about making jokes about the Ku Klux Klan.
I was just wondering.
We're not really don't really have a history of that in this country, so we don't know whether you can make a 10 out of that. I wouldn't want to make a joke about it in case it's inappropriate.
Well, in that case, I'm going to move swiftly on to the final
Hang on
story.
a minute. So they're going on a camping trip.
Yes.
And it's going to be before Christmas, do you think?
I don't know.
What's going to happen? Is this going to be the big thing?
I want anything to be the big thing.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to diminish the horrible impact that they probably will eventually have, but I just feel like a racist camping trip with a bunch of...
They're just going to sit around the campfire and tell him stories.
A racist camping trip with a bunch of mid-20s lads and a teenage boy and beer is going to be almost exactly the same as any other camping trip with a bunch of lads and beer, except the songs are going to be more sinister lyrics.
Oh yeah, very sinister lyrics, yeah.
What are they going to get up to in the woods? Mind you, I did play Red Dead Redemption 2, and you can blow up Ku Klux Klan people who have secret meetings in the woods.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that
I
will
think
happen.
they're just here to tell the campfire stories, and instead of "and there was a ghost" being a twist, it'll be "and there was a Muslim." Whoa.
No.
I don't know.
Cut that out.
I hope that there's something exciting that happens there. Right, Simon. So the de-rotting is underway at the bistro on Wednesday's episode, and Simon comes in there to see Nick and Leanne and says, "You know that job that I've been doing?"
No.
And everyone's like, "No, you've barely been in the programme for the past
job?
2 years, Simon."
I still don't know what job.
I think it's maybe supposed to be the fish and chips. Maybe does he still work that? It's weird because the script really carefully made sure that they made no reference whatsoever to what this job actually was.
Well, I mean, in real life, if I said to you, "Oh, Michael, I was fired," I wouldn't say from my day job I do. Like, if you came over to me and be like, "Oh no, they fired me as a teacher," you wouldn't, would you? You'd say, "I've been fired."
No, but I would have thought that the script writers might like to throw a few clues in there just to remind us. I mean,
Yeah,
they
I know,
like to do that at the beginning of most episodes.
I know they do, but imagine how hilarious
Remember
it would
that
be.
doctor's appointment I got today about my breast lump?
If you came in and you were like, "I've been fired," and I went, "What? From your job at school where you work as a teacher?" No.
No, it was needed. Anyway,
It was needed because I still don't know.
It doesn't matter anyway. So he goes around looking for jobs on Wednesday. Can't work at the bistro. Can't work at streetcars. But good-o, only takes one day to find a job in Coronation Street, as we know. And by bedtime, he's going to have himself a job working with Jacob, his old mate of drug selling, Jacob, at the factory, on the sales team. Because if there's one thing that they need more of in the factory,
pants.
It's sales members.
Yeah, to sell the pants.
We got Michael, we got Jacob, is Kirk on sales still at the moment? I don't remember.
No, he got changed back to driving
Is Summer
the van.
on sales? I don't know, but she's disappeared
rubbish.
off on a break now anyway, so maybe he's going to jump into her position.
If they ever wanted to discuss the economic impact of the cost of living crisis, Jacob and Simon are in such a perfect situation to be laid off from their jobs because there's just not making enough money at the factory to justify all these people, which frankly, let's face it, they don't do anything. They don't do anything. If these two got laid off, you can totally imagine them going, "What can we do? We need money quick."
Back on the drugs.
Do you not think so? This is one of the things that fuels criminal activity is economic distress. And those two have experience. I mean, if they put their CV out, Max is there with his social media for racists, and they're there with errand boy for drug dealers.
Yeah, very true, very true. Well, it all depends.
There's going to be a lot of demand for that, I think.
Depends on where their friendship goes, because this is the kind of the thrust of the story on Friday. Simon was like, "Do I be friends with Jacob after everything he put my family through in that story last year?"
That's my favourite song of the Coronation Street musical.
What?
Do I be friends with Jacob after he was mean to my mum?
He sang the wheels on the bus to my mum
He
after
did.
Ollie just died.
That's a musical too.
Anyway, so
doesn't it just show how nobody cares about Leanne? Even Simon's like, "Oh, I don't remember."
Jacob seems to think that they can be best friends again. Leanne's like, "No way," because she sees him at the Christmas fair later on, doesn't she? She's like, "What the hell are you doing being friends with him?" But they have a nice bonding moment in the middle of the episode where somebody tries to steal the underwear van. And then they chase up the van to Rosamond Street, tackle the driver out of the van.
The getaway driver forgets the fact that the Victoria Street's been shut off because of the Christmas fair and gets stuck in traffic.
I was expecting, the way that they had it, they weren't really showing the driver's face, and I was expecting there to be a big reveal.
I thought it was Max for ages.
Yeah, it was like, no, it's just nobody.
They pull him out and they go, "What's your name?" And he literally gives his full name, and I don't remember what it was, but I thought, is this significant in some way? I'm supposed to know who that is. It
was just a bit of a cliffhanger kind of scene, so that they can be friends and then go and have nice Christmas market food together at the end of the episode. But yeah, Leanne's not happy with it. And when she and Nick talk to Simon about it towards the end of the episode, he's like, "Yeah, okay, fine, I'll just try and keep my head down at the factory." Nick also talks to Leanne about the fact that the bistro is hemorrhaging money at the moment, what with all this deep rotting that's taking place. And Leanne's like, yeah,
You've
you know
made
what?
up that word. Do you know that? You
No,
know
it's
you
a
have,
real
haven't
word.
you?
That's what Coronation Street needs. Instead of a cast cull, we're going to call it a de-rotting. And they're getting rid of some of these cast members that they don't need. So Leanne says, look, I think we need to dip into Sam's inheritance again.
Yeah, because she thinks the money that's gone towards them doing the de-rotting process, which sounds like something out of Austin Powers to me, she thinks that came from Sam's inheritance,
Yeah, that's
not
what I said.
Simon's.
No, I didn't say Simon.
Okay, it's written down.
Literally.
And
Man.
it's actually come from Harvey.
Yes, it has.
Who is not one of our villains of the year.
Yeah. So, and then the only other thing that happens in this story is that Jacob is accosted by a man who is definitely not Dean Sykes, the guy that Emma Watts shot in the Freshco siege of 2001, but he looks an awful lot like a 20 years plus older version of him.
And he's stolen Kevin's bomber jacket.
Yeah, he comes and accosts Jacob, and Jacob's like, I don't want anything to do with you. And he says, no, can we just talk? And Jacob says, no.
I've got money in my passport.
So this guy is played by Kieran Griffiths, who we knew back in the day because he was in The Bill, wasn't he?
No, hang on. We don't know him.
We
knew of him.
We knew of him. Yes.
He was famous.
In The Bill.
Michael, there's definitely a distinction that you need to make when you actually do know some people who are in Coronation
He's our
Street.
mate.
We don't know him. He's not coming for Christmas.
No.
But if he wants to, he's welcome.
Yeah. He was in The Bill, and then he played another Coronation Street character for 3 episodes back in 2001. And he looks an awful lot different now, doesn't he? Because
I thought you were going to say he looks an awful lot like that one out of The Bill.
No.
Because he also was in The Bill.
I always remember him looking very kind of cherubic and baby-faced,
yeah,
wasn't he, back 20 years ago? But he's certainly bulked up a lot since then.
He's very striking and handsome, isn't he? He's got a bit of a tan and a bit of a beard.
Yeah. Well, Coronation Street have wanted to leave that a bit of a mystery over the weekend over who this guy could possibly be. Trouble is, Coronation Street, if you're going to do a load of publicity saying, oh, we're introducing the character of
blah,
you know who, then don't leave us at a mystery, because we know who it is, but we're not allowed to talk about it because we're a spoiler-free podcast. So I think we'll just leave it there and pick it up next week when it's just finally revealed. You can probably guess, and you're probably right.
It's his English tutor.
So, Gemma.
Yes.
What are we scoring this week's Coronation Street?
I thought, all in all, it was a fairly decent week. It's not mind-blowing. I don't know that anything's going to go down in history for me as amazing. Some storylines I really like. Again, some interesting character reactions to things. As much as I like to criticise the characters, like, Daniel and people like that, part of the fun of Coronation Street is how badly some people react to things and how they deal with consequences of that. So the fallout of how Daniel reacted to Daisy's cancer scare is going to be very interesting to watch. I don't know how he's going to get around how dreadfully he's treated this poor girl, because even if you feel that way, you should keep it to your bloody self. Anyway, I'm going to give it 3.5 golf balls with pictures of Bernie's face on it.
That was a funny one. That golf ball had the picture of Bernie that was taken when there was a publicity shot of her and Fern together when it was revealed that she was coming into the programme. That was weird. I'm not going to go 3.5. It was fine. Literally, I thought Monday and Wednesday were quite good. The summer story, as I said, was more exciting than it has ever been, probably. Lovely to see some serious scenes with Daisy. And the play stuff was kind of silly fluff, really. Bit sad to lose them so soon, but I fairly enjoyed it. I'm going to give this 3 Viennetta wedding dresses out of 5.
Character of the week.
Character of the week. I think I'd almost like to give it to Aaron for actually telling Billy about Summer so that she can get caught out, but I don't think I will. Excuse me again. Sorry, can I just say I'm really, really sorry to everybody. This is like the plague cast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we've just been coughing and spluttering into everyone's ears for the past 2+ hours. Really, really sorry. And there's a big news section to come next as well. But we need to do it for our darling listeners.
We're doing it for Peggy.
We are doing it for Peggy.
Somebody tell her about it.
Peggy from the advert. I'm giving it to Daisy because she's great.
Yeah, I was thinking about Daisy. I like the fact that she's been given a more serious storyline.
Any other options?
I'm trying to go through the other ones in my mind, and I think Daisy's the one.
What about Martha for calling out Ken on stage? That was quite epic.
It was quite epic, but like I said, I thought the script wasn't as powerful.
Okay.
As her speech, as the delivery of it was.
I'm giving it to Daisy because I enjoyed watching her.
Yeah.
That's all. What more do you need?
Just forget it if you want anything else.